Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
Good evening and welcome to Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. And yes, I got the bandana on. Why? Because I only wear it when our guest is here, and that's Bigfoot Michigan Rob. If you don't know him, he's always bandanaed up. And we're going to have a great time with BMR tonight on the show. Robin Haynes will be in for hour number 3. But the best part about tonight is we get to say hello to each and every one of you. T-Bone in the gold medal position, Tim Mothman in his goatee with a silver, and right in the bronze medal, we have Kitty Cattywack. So thank you for coming on in. We greatly appreciate it. All right, let's do our roll call, shall we? We have Tyler 420. How you doing? Race fan, how's it going? Mel WD40 is here, breaking out of the hospital. How did he get out? Well, he lubed himself up and just slid right on out. Yeah, what did the doctor say? Literally, we proved this. What did the doctor say? He didn't have enough lube around his heart, so his heart kind of gave out. Yeah. So now Mel is lubing himself up for tonight's show, so that way he can be healthy and nice and smooth each and every night. So thank you, Mel, for surviving, and thank you for lubing yourself up. Attorney at large, Michael Morris, how are you? Little Cam on YouTube, literally just got out of the gym. Ran 55 miles in 28 minutes to get ready for tonight's show. His legs are jacked for tonight. Stephanie Kenny Blankenship, K17 Odd. How you doing? Nice to have you here. Robert Lamoth, good to see you. Excuse me, I'm having the coughs tonight. I apologize. April, welcome to SOR Chat. Kathy Evans is here. Kathy Evans will be signing autographs after the show. Line up to the left of the studio, if you don't mind, to the left of the studio. Paramarv, how's it going, my man? In the studio and Operation Shutdown, how are you? Walter Kochabinski, Carol Amerio, it's good to have you both here. Hi, Luscious Jules, nice to see you. And who else do we have? Let's scroll on down and let's say, there's Bigfoot Michigan Rob in the chat room early. Bigfoot Michigan Rob will be signing autographs after the show as well. Line up to the right of the studio, if you don't mind, to the right of the studio. And if you want to buy one of his autographed bandanas, it's $25. $25. Okay. All proceeds, 100% of the proceeds going to Rob. That's it. Frankie B, how are you? Nice to see you as we continue on with our roll call. Algaray on Twitch to warm up for Bigfoot Rob, 2,500 sit-ups in 4.5 minutes. That's with a water break in between. Good job tonight, Algaray. Good job. Amy Creel, welcome to SOR Chat. And Jay Truthseeker, East Coast Turnaround on X. Nice to have you guys here. Doug Shelby is here. The Doug Shelby has arrived, which means we can officially start this show. Moving on down, I'm Hardcore over on X. Ryan C., nice to see you. Jaron Carter, nice to have you here. And there's good morning to you, Skip Tamalu. And that's right. Thank you, Mel, for lubing yourself up. That's correct. Sarah Maddie, pardon me, welcome to SOR Chat from the armpit of Washington. She's only a 7-hour drive away. Hello and welcome to the radio and podcast side of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. We're going to have an interesting take on Bigfoot tonight. Bigfoot Michigan Rob is here. Make sure you sign up for his YouTube channel. We're going to have some fun. We are in roll call on our YouTube side right now. Kurt M., nice to see you tonight. Melissa Kronwetter, how are you tonight? Thank you for joining us. And let's see, Undead Jed, nice to have you here. And I think we're caught up. Son of a gun, we're caught up. There we go. So what do we talk about for like 20 seconds? I don't know. Well, we could talk about, you can shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. We do not have ugly swag, people. No ugly swag. And you can also join our membership on YouTube. We'd greatly appreciate your love. And of course, Caribou Con coming up in a few months' time, 9 months from now. Go to cariboucon.com, get your VIP tickets right now. Do me a favor, everybody. It's that time of the night. Throw those horns up. Let's rock.
Are you ready to hear your mystic voice of the night?
It's time to wake up.
He's here. Be quiet. He's ready for you to listen. Let's point our ears to what's really happening next. We're together. It's time for Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott.
From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot. Read the Newswire. Check out our swag as well. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. We have an amazing show for you tonight. It's all Bigfoot all night long. From the YouTube channel BMR, Bigfoot Michigan Rob is here. We're going to get into his story here momentarily. Then in hour number 3, Swamp Dweller will kick things off as we are warming all of you up for New Year's Eve and the turn of the calendar into 2026. Where the heck did 2025 go? Where did it disappear to? I just blinked and it was gone. I remember doing this last year saying, wow, I hope the years start to slow down. Well, that was a farce. That resolution never came to fruition. So I'm here with you tonight to warm you up for New Year's Eve. Hopefully you are with some family. Hopefully you are with some friends. And if you're not, if you're sitting all alone, warming yourself up, maybe a beer, maybe a cup of tea, whatever it may be in your hand to drink, know this, you have friends right here hanging out with you to enjoy the woo one last time in 2025. So let's get right to our guest tonight. Bigfoot Michigan Rob. This is an interesting story. I had a bio all written up for him. But sometimes you got to go off the cuff and you just got to say, screw it. I'm just going to do this. So that's what I'm going to do here. And let me tell you why. This guy's an awesome dude. He is an awesome dude. Now, about 8 years ago, many of Rob's listeners who are listening into this from his YouTube channel probably don't even know this story. About 8 years ago, I started getting this guy coming into my chat room. And literally, he owned this bar in Michigan where during our show, he would actually have a section of his bar cordoned off in order to play Spaced Out Radio on YouTube. We had just started doing the whole camera thing on YouTube, and he was literally coming on in saying, this is great. This is what's going on. I love your show. We talked on the phone a few times, and I absolutely fell for the guy. He is an amazing, amazing guy. I've never met him personally, But, virtually he's turned into a great friend. They call him Bigfoot Michigan Rob, and that's what he is. He lives in Michigan. He's seen Bigfoot, and his name is Rob. It doesn't get much more simple than that. Well, over time, Rob decided to delve a little bit more time into this after he sold his bar, and he decided that he wanted to investigate Bigfoot a little bit more. So what did he do? Well, he started his own YouTube channel and podcast called Brunch with Bigfoot, and then BMR, Bigfoot Michigan Rob, right there. And he took off. And now he's got thousands of followers around the world looking to him to talk about Bigfoot. Big stories, small stories, personal encounters, research. And it's not just UFOs. He'll go into the paranormal. He'll go into the UFO world or wherever it goes. Why? Because he wanted to have fun in life. And by the grace of God, he's been able to do that. And the best part about it is he and I have remained friends for this long. And usually in this field, friendship doesn't last that long. For some reason, this is a horrible field to say, hey, I've got long-term friends, because there's always something that comes up that pulls people apart. It may not be an argument or a disagreement, but just, you go in separate directions. But Rob here, he's constant. He's consistent, and we bring him on now. Bigfoot Michigan Rob. I didn't know until you told me when I was on your show about a week and a half ago.
Yeah.
That you had started a tradition that you didn't even tell me about.
I know.
Okay. That you would have me on as one of your final guests of 2025. This is what you wanted. You always wanted to hear my storytelling. So for our audience on Spaced Out Radio, we're starting a new tradition tonight where Bigfoot Rob is going to be my final guest of the year every year. In fact, I've already got him booked for 2026. December 30th, 2026, Rob will be our guest on that show that night. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing fantastic, Dave. And you all see, I'm smiling. Dave, you always make me smile. Yes, you do. And I mean that. I think, yeah, I know you know that. And yeah, you know how this all started. I was following Spaced Out Radio for the longest time. And I just started getting involved in the field, or just watching shows. I didn't even have a YouTube channel. I first saw you were on Spreaker, not even on YouTube, but I would listen to your radio show on Spreaker. I'm like, man, this guy's great. And I would listen and watch all the time. Then you evolved, and then you went on also for terrestrial radio into podcasting. You did YouTube. And one day I seen you on YouTube. I'm like, oh my God, it's Dave Scott on YouTube. So I was in the chat room all the time, and this, that, and the other, listening to all your great shows and everything you provide for everybody. And then it's funny you mentioned about the bar, because I started broadcasting your show from a section of the bar that I would close off, because I had 2 bars within the bar. And on Spaced Out Radio, I had a side for Spaced Out Radio for the show. And, 2 people walk in, start watching you a little bit. And then it grew to 15, 20 people. And then, and then you and I even played a little game. Every time you say the woo, or I forgot what the other phrase was, Rob buys a drink. Yes. And it was just fantastic. And the one show I'll never forget, I was at the bar on Halloween, and you had a Halloween show. I think Brian Bowden was your guest. And you had my bar line phone number, because I remember you called into the bar because I was in your chat room saying we're exploding pumpkins in the field in back of my bar. And you just started laughing off air when you went to the new segment, and called me, and one of my employees answered the phone. Is Rob there? And they said, no, Rob's tied up because the police are here, and he's in a little bit of trouble for blowing up pumpkins. I'll never forget that, man. That was fantastic. And we became fast friends for a long time, and I am so appreciative of what you've done. I've kind of copied some of your things to start my channel, which I gladly will admit freely, because you taught me quite a bit. And I'm really glad we've remained friends, because you said friends in this business, they really don't last a long time.
It's true. It's a sad part of what we do.
Yeah.
Not to turn the conversation sad or
No,
to bring the energy down, but it's very rare in this field that if I look back 8-9 years ago, I look at listeners from our chat rooms and everything where I don't know if they're alive or dead anymore.
Oh, right.
They moved on because people's lives change. Okay. They, sometimes you say something that upsets them. In today's world, you hold a grudge forever. Or maybe their work shift change. I know a few people had their work shift change.
Right.
People pass away. People get sick. People get married. People, get into relationships, whatever it may be. Or they find a new hobby or whatever it may be.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
People move on. But so it's very rare that there is that consistency
of
tough. What happens.
It's tough. And like I watch you because I have the same work schedule all the time. And I would watch you every midnight in Michigan all the time for several years religiously. And then one day I wasn't there anymore, but that was simply because of I got to change what I was doing work wise. And it does happen. And we have to realize that. And I sometimes I wonder where do people go, but then you make a great point. Lives change for folks. It don't mean they don't like you or don't follow you. It's because life happens.
Absolutely. Life happens. And that's the beauty of what we do. We're only on this trip around the sun once, even though we go around every year, but we only get one shot at this, unless you believe in reincarnation, but right. Rob, you have taken the Bigfoot story and you have really ran with it. You have developed your own following. You call them the pirates on your channel, and they love what you do. I've been in your chat room and I silently watch because, not to sound egotistical, but a lot of times when I enter a chat room of a friend, what happens is the whole conversation in the chat room, hey, there's Dave Scott. There he is saying hello. And I don't want to take away from the show.
Right.
Because that's your room. That's your listeners. That's your topic of the night. I want to just sit back and listen like a fan. So a lot of times when I'm preparing for the show, I'll listen to your show. I'll listen to Brent Thomas's show. I'll listen to Thomas Fessler is another one I listen to.
Okay. Yeah.
And there's a number of shows that I listen to that are topics of this genre, but you get great guests and your audience loves you, man. They absolutely appreciate every word because you're genuine. You're honest. You're not trying to pull the wool over the eyes of these people. So my question to you is, how do you remain such a friendly host? Because so many hosts get egos on their back. They get chips on their shoulders that they are something, whether they have 50 followers or whether they have 50,000 followers. Yet you have stayed right straight, my man.
That's a great question, Dave. And thank you again for the accolades. I appreciate you so much. You don't even understand. Thank you. The only reason, growing up, I was always into monsters, UFOs. I watched the Patty film, Leonard Nimoy. So I loved monsters and sports. That's what my dad brought me up on. And I knew about Bigfoot. I knew about the paranormal, the ghosts as a kid, young man, 20s, 30s. The reason I stayed evenly keeled throughout this time when I started my channel is because I remember I've had lots of encounters in the paranormal prior to my Bigfoot experience. So, but what happened to me during my Bigfoot experience and encounter, and most people have heard it, it's bittersweet and tragic and sad. It's all mixed. It's one big ball, right? I just remember, Dave, that I got ridiculed for this story. People didn't believe me. And this is mostly behind the scenes, not even on media or any of that. And then when I tried to venture out and find people to help me get through my situation, because I was lost, I was alone, and I was desperate, and I needed answers to what happened.
Mhm.
And most people didn't take me seriously and laughed at me. They judged me. And I always remember that even to this day today, speaking today, I remember the pain I felt from other people. And I
Mhm.
said, that's terrible the way I'm being treated. This went on for 6, 7, 8 months, Dave. And I didn't have a channel. I was just looking for answers. And one day, a light turned on in my head after I got myself together. I finally found a good group of people that said, Rob, you're not crazy. We believe you. What you're talking about does go on in the world today. And then a light bulb went on. I said, I'm going to start a channel. And why I'm going to start this is not for fame and glory. I wanted to tell other people's stories, have guests on from around the world, researchers and experiencers, where they can have a place to come to. Now, I'm not unique to this, but in my mind, I want to let people know they had a safe place to come to where they will not be judged like I was, ridiculed like I was, felt like a piece of dirt. Hey, look, I don't care what your story is, Mr. Smith. Tell it to us. We'll listen because we did not walk in your shoes. Like people did not walk in my shoes. That stuck with me. The feeling of despair it got to at one point, Dave.
Right.
And I was like, no, no, no. I'm going to change this around. And I want a friendly place where people can come and tell me what they've experienced. I've had many people I've spoken with, Dave, don't come on the show because they're in despair still. I've spent 5 hours of FaceTime with people that have not come on my show, but I have their story and I give them the empathy that they deserve. That's what I do. And that's why I think it was a calling for me, Dave. As
Right.
tragic as what happened to me, Dave, I sold my bar, not because of this, because of other circumstances. And then I had time on my hands, and that's how this all started for me. Because I wanted to share other people's stories as I shared mine, and I wanted them to share them in a safe place.
You bring up a very good point with many experiencers, and it doesn't matter whether it's UFO, paranormal, cryptid like Bigfoot, which is kind of your forte. And I'm trying to make it my forte as well because I love the subject. Okay. But we look at experiencers differently.
Mhm.
People look at experiencers differently. And that's why we don't get a lot of these incredible stories or tips of where things are happening because, well, you're going to think I'm stupid. You're going to think I'm nuts. You're going to think I'm crazy. You're probably not going to believe what I have to say. So I'll just shut up before I even say anything. And when you can tell people point blank, I believe you, it's a very powerful statement.
It
It
is.
it really is, and I have taken heat as well over the years. Not so much over the last 3, 4 years, but when I started out in this field, I took a lot of heat because I had this m this mantra, "We believe everybody."
Right.
You don't have to believe the person. You don't have to believe the guest or whatever, but we believe everybody because I've never stood in your shoes. Who the heck am I to sit here and say that your story's BS if
No,
I've never experienced it?
that's the truth. We don't walk in people's shoes, Dave. I mean, and I've heard stories that seem like, okay, wow, and some not so wow, but it doesn't matter because I believe this, that mantra, I believe everybody. I kind of have that mantra, but here's the thing, here's the difference though. I believe that everybody that talks to me has seen something. The difference might be this. It might not be exactly what they think they saw, is where I try to help them maybe work their way through that the best I can, because I'm not an expert in anything, right? If you've seen something, I want you to tell your story and we can work through this. And I believe a lot of the people have seen the Bigfoot, the Dogman, the UFOs, the aliens. And I think people that think they did, maybe they saw just something else because there's so many phenomena out there that trick you and trick your mind, right? If you're a gung ho Bigfoot researcher, people say to me, Rob, I can't believe I've been 30 years as a Bigfoot researcher. I've never seen an actual Bigfoot, yet you have. And I've seen this, that, and the other. And it's like, well, maybe it's not in your cards. Maybe it's not, maybe your vibration or frequency is different. Because if you have the intent, here's the thing. If your main objective and you cast into the wilderness, I believe this, your intention is to find and look for Bigfoot, ain't going to happen. He will find you if he wants you to find him. And people have to have that attitude that, hey, I'm just coming out to have a great time, be with Mother Nature. Of all most of the encounters that I've come across with all this phenomena, it's moms and dads with their families camping, have no clue of what Bigfoot is. And guess what happens? He prances through their campsite because their intentions are pure.
I think that's probably why a lot of children have those encounters. And in fact, I can tell you right now, one of my Bigfoot spots, my son attracts them in.
Okay.
Because he's laughing, he's playing. You know, when he was younger, you know, kids, when they're happy and excited, they squeal a little bit. And you can actually hear the movement around us.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't at Flight 21. This is at my other spot. And you could hear them actually moving around. And from what I've learned from other researchers, there is something about children that piques the interest and curiosity of Sasquatch. And maybe that's it. Maybe it is the innocence of the energy.
I believe that 100%, the innocence of the energy, because I think that if you go out, excuse me, I think it's the children and women as well. I've found that too. A lot of women have a lot of experiences, but the children, yeah, the Bigfoot or these cryptids don't find them as threatening. You and I in the woods sporting a shotgun, hey, Bigfoot's not going to show himself because they know what that can do. But if you cast that, we were talking on my show the other day, Dave, and you and I kind of emulated talked about the same thing. You cast that projection into the forest. This is for me to protect myself against the other predators. It's not here for the cryptid world. It's not here for Bigfoot. It's just for my protection. I think you have to cast that. You have to cast that out into your environment. And that's with anything in life, even. You know, I believe that you can manifest a lot of things on your own, which has nothing to do with the paranormal or the cryptid field. You know how a lot of people, they put a picture of a Corvette on their refrigerator.
Yes.
And that's their goal. I want to get this, and they manifest it every day. They see it. They see it. They see it. And you know what they do? They work toward that goal. And before you know it, through their hard work and manifestation, they've achieved that goal. It can be anything. And I think you can do the same thing in the cryptid field, because I think it's about positive energy that you cast. And I think the kids, the innocence, I think is a huge key. You know, I always say that I don't think Bigfoot's the big forest giant, but I think that a lot of the friendly forest giant. But I think in some instances they see the innocence in some of these children and the men and women where they're more apt to trust you. If that makes sense.
No, I think it makes a lot of sense. And, you know, like when my son is with me in the forest, I always make sure that he's walking in between me and my buddy. Like he's never wandering off alone. I think that's where, you know, a lot of kids, you know, may get taken by these creatures, you know, and it might not even be nefariously.
Right.
Okay. But the creature may all of a sudden be panicking, thinking, oh my God, this child's alone. Well, you know, I got to save this child. Or maybe it is saying, that's a free meal. We don't know.
No, we don't.
We don't know. Okay. Just like we can assume there are all of these different breeds and types of Sasquatch, but we don't know.
Right.
We only know because they look different. They act different in different places. Okay. And it's hard to learn everything that's going on. Rob, I'm going to get you to hold on right there. Hard to believe we're already through the first half hour of tonight's show.
Really already?
It is. Bigfoot Michigan Rob. When we come back, we're going to ask Rob a real simple question. His favorite Bigfoot stories of 2025. Right here next on Spaced Out Radio. Look him up on YouTube, Bigfoot Michigan Rob. Go hit subscribe. We'll be right back. All right, buddy, we're clear. Hold on. Let me unmute you here. There you go.
Yeah, I can't believe that. That's really 26 minutes went by.
Yeah,
That's
that was
awesome.
fast.
Well, when you're having a good time and the conversation is good, of course it flies by.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
So hello to everybody out in chat. Good to see y'all. But yeah, so I must say though, as much as I love Christmas season, as I was telling you earlier, I will tell you this, man. I love when it comes to an end and January starts, because I go into, all I do is do the shows, work, and just detox. Try to get back in shape every year.
Oh God, I need to do that this year. God, I need to do that. Oh, I don't have a choice. I gotta make some healthier decisions.
Yeah, every year. And I don't believe in the New Year's resolution. I just believe in every year is the start of a new chapter in your life. So I always try to, and for the most part, I'm successful with it, because when summertime hits, I get bored now very fast. Very fast.
Me too, my man. Me too.
So
Matthew, how are you? You were saying, Robbie?
No, I was going to ask if you've got swells of snow. I know where you live, you get a plethora of snow.
I've got about a foot and a quarter in the backyard, foot and a half
yeah.
in the backyard.
It was crazy. The reason I asked, because it's 20 degrees here, which is, compared to where you live, it's kind of warm. I had to go out because my entire neighborhood in a 3-mile radius, because we had 70-mile-an-hour wind gusts with snow squalls, and everybody was losing their power, Dave. So I decided I needed to get some stuff for the house in case I go out, because I thought I was losing power. It was almost the worst decision I ever made in my life, because I could not see it 5 feet in front of me, because of the snow was just swirling around like a tornado. And when I turned on my wind shield wipers, right, the solvent froze immediately.
Really?
Yeah. Then I had to sit alongside the road. I had to find a way that was safe and park. And then when the wind died down, it took about 40 minutes, man. I was stuck doing nothing. And then I made it on to my destination. Never lost power, though. Knock on wood.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was amazing. But
yeah, we had a huge windstorm here a couple weeks ago. And usually when we get those windstorms, the power gets knocked out here.
yeah.
So I actually had the team ready. I'm like, hey, somebody may have to jump on and continue with this interview. And somehow it held up.
Yeah, where I live, I still have these telephone lines, and when they freeze up and the wind blows really hard, the only time I've ever canceled a show is because I was out of power because of that stance.
Never cancel a show, man.
I have a backup. Well, I have people in place now that will continue on for me. Yes, because I found out really hard that once you miss your schedule, people aren't happy.
No, those the audience doesn't understand, and I say this with all politeness and respect, the pressure that we have on as hosts to make sure there's a show, because they are relying on us.
Yeah.
Right? They're relying on us to be here. And I like that pressure.
I love it. What I love about it is finally people know my schedule after all these years. They know when you're on at what time, which is great, which is a great feeling, actually.
Yeah, for sure.
So hats off to all the people that follow Spaced Out Radio and BMR. It's awesome.
They're beautiful people, man.
They are.
They are beautiful people. If you're listening in on YouTube and you haven't already, do us a favor. Give us a thumbs up, thumbs down, thumbs sideways. I don't really give a care. Just hit the algorithms for me if you don't mind. We'd appreciate that. Don't forget after the show to leave a comment. Let us know what you think of BMR's headband versus my headband. Right? It is a competition. No, I'm
Yeah,
teasing.
no, I know. But I will tell you this really briefly. I don't know how much time we have left. I have finally, Dave, found somebody reasonably priced. I'm getting all new swag with a different company.
Yeah.
And my headbands are going to be my logo.
Oh, I need one of those.
Yes, I'll get you one. Well, I don't. Yeah, I've seen the finished product.
Well,
yes, it looks pretty sweet.
all right. We're going to get going in 5 seconds. T-Bone, thank you for our lone super chat of the night. Here we go. Happy New Year, everybody. We are in the second half hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. I'm the guy who literally will tell you all the spooky stories about Bigfoot tonight. So why not just join us? Just join us, sit back, relax, fill that bottle with the cognac, maybe a little sherry on the side. I don't know. Does anybody ever eat maraschino cherries anymore? Or have they kind of passed the wayside now? I don't know. I'll hit Rob up on that in a moment. Reminder to all of you that if you missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives. And they'll be free in 2026 as well. Go to any major podcast network or on YouTube. Only thing I want in return is hit follow or subscribe. I think it's a fair trade. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Here he is, Bigfoot Michigan Rob. You can look him up on YouTube under that same name. Hit subscribe on his channel where he brings in real people with real-time experiences going on in the paranormal, supernatural, and most importantly to him, the cryptid world. He's got thousands of listeners who tune on into his program, and we thank you, Rob, for being here tonight.
It's always a pleasure, Dave, and thank you so much for having me come on for your last show of the year, correct?
Well, we made it a pre-New Year's resolution.
Yes, that's correct. We made it into it. Yes.
Pre-New Year's resolution. Have Bigfoot Michigan Rob on the show. The final show of the year like it is this year. Again. And it'll be next year as well. Why? Because we could do that.
We can. That's
totally
right.
Do that. You've heard a lot of Bigfoot stories this year, my man.
Yep.
I don't care what order they're in. I want to hear some of your best stories of 2025.
Yes, I will. There are several to draw from, but in finding my favorite ones, I will tell you this. One that's really stuck with me that I really enjoyed was about this man. His name was Jim. I mean, I talked to him before email. We talked on the phone. We did a little StreamYard conversation. And he's a follower of my show and things like that. And he says, Rob, and this is in Appalachia. I think this is in New York, upstate New York, in that area. And he says, Rob, I've got to tell you something. He starts explaining this to me. Very nice guy. This guy's probably about 65 years old, older man. He says, Rob, I've been hunting, camping, and fishing in this same area for 30 plus years, Rob. He goes, I know it like the back of my hand. He goes, I can walk out of this park, this forest, with my eyes shut. That's how much, and he always goes relatively in the same area, within maybe a 2 or 3 mile radius. So he's going on. I said, okay, yeah. He goes, I have to tell you something that has me riddled. And okay, listen, I'm getting all intrigued now. I'm listening in, and he went to describe to me that he was always at this same camping spot of 2 or 3 varieties, but they all ran along this river where he would always go down and fish at. And along this river, Dave, there's a trail that when he was done fishing, he would walk the trail and be with Mother Nature. He said we do this religiously all the time. He says one day he does the same ritual, and then he notices a different path cut out off the trail. He says, "Boy, this is odd," but he's kind of excited about this. So he goes down this trail, and he says, "Rob, everything's fine. I'm just walking on this new trail." And then he says it started getting. He felt odd because all of a sudden, Dave, and everybody listening, the terrain started to change. If there were oak trees, they turned to pine. You know, if there was a bright
Right.
green grass, it turned to blue. And before he knew it, Rob, he says, I am in an unfamiliar alien. It felt alien to me. Everything changed.
Oh my.
So I let him continue on, ask a few questions, but as he continues on, he says, Rob, after about 20 minutes, he goes, I'm scared. I now know I'm lost. Rob, I've traveled this for 30 years. Yes, the trail was new, which he thought odd, but what came upon this man was horrible. He said, he says, I have to get my senses together. He gets back and he sees a stump. And he sits on this big stump and he's contemplating. He's thinking, where am I? How did I get here? I don't understand this. Then all of a sudden, in back of him, he hears a rustling, in the tree line inside of this area he's at, right? And he says, Rob, I see this big shadow come out. And he says, Rob, it was shaped like a huge human being. Rob, I can't tell you a physical description, but I know it wasn't human and it was big. It cast a big shadow. He describes it having a conical head. He said it had to be 8 or 9 feet tall and 4 foot wide. And it was just big. And so this is naturally, Rob, I got scared. What is this? Because you thought it was a shadow of something else, which would make it even bigger, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, wow. And he says, he goes, I don't know how. Then he says to me, I don't know how to explain this, but something in my head spoke to me and said, follow the trees. And he got the sense it came from this shadow.
No kidding.
Yes. And so this man is like, well, okay. He doesn't know what to do, but he starts looking at the trees. And again, the terrain is all different to him, right? Alien, like I said. And he's looking at the bottom of these big, and he said these tree stumps or these trees were 4 foot wide, way wider than what he was used to. He said it
Right.
reminded him of the red pines of California. And then as he's browsing into the tree line at these trees, he notices, Dave, that faces would emerge from the tree. Kind of like, and I'm thinking, and I'm not going to put words in his mouth. I'm thinking like elementals. I'm thinking whatever. There's
Right.
a lot of things that when I'm done, we got a lot of things to talk about on this one. But he sees these faces. He says, Rob, they weren't scary, but they were not human looking either. And he says, I was scared, but then I kept following the tree line. So every three or four trees down, a new face would appear. So he says, whatever that message was put in my brain, I better follow because I don't know where I'm at anyway. So he follows along the tree line and all these faces are popping up, Dave. Then all of a sudden, the faces start to fade. And he says this big, ominous shadow, conical head, tall, and says, you're almost home, and disappears. And now the face is no longer appearing in the trees, but he continues on this journey. Then all of a sudden he notices the trees and everything. The terrain gets back to be very familiar. He can now hear in the distance the rushing of the river, which, by the way, I forgot to mention was gone. That river was gone during this adventure. You hear the crackling of the river. He makes the turn around this bend, and all of a sudden, Dave, his familiar trail was there. He saw the river. He follows the river all the way back to his campsite. He sits down. He says, Rob, what in the heck did I just experience?
My God.
Bigfoot or not, I don't know. The way he explained it, yes, a conical head, the man says, and he says to me earlier, not a big Bigfoot guy. He just keeps to himself, not into the paranormal, the ghosts. So what he explained there was, and the thing that I've learned here in 2025 is, I'm sorry for everybody listening, the Bigfoot creature has become more of a paranormal, supernatural thing than a physical being, in my opinion, with the stories I've gotten in 2025, right? And so I contemplate this, Dave, and I don't know. I think that maybe it was a spirit of Bigfoot, but I think that also I'm thinking all these other things. Did he slip through a portal? Were elementals or the Fae involved? There's so much in that story. That's why I love it so much, because I don't know where to go with this.
I would love to give my opinion on this if you don't mind.
No, I don't. No, please.
The telepathy is very familiar from a Sasquatch perspective.
Hmm.
We get going into Flight 21, we get the mind speak going on. Okay. I know other people and I've witnessed other people having that happen at the same time. The fact that he saw the silhouette of the Sasquatch tends to make me believe that he did have an encounter, but that creature was staying far enough away so it didn't intimidate him to run further into the forest. The other faces make sense to me because if there was a clan there, they are very curious creatures. Okay. Like for a lot of people who may not understand Sasquatch, and I know you do. Okay. So I know I'm not putting words in your mouth or saying my thoughts are better than yours or anything like that. But the one thing that I have learned through this is for anybody who wants to go look for Sasquatch, the worst thing you can do is go trouncing around trails, go trouncing around, making noise. You don't need to dress in camouflage. You don't need to paint your face. You don't need to put on a ghillie suit because you know what? They're already going to smell you. They're already going to know you're there.
Yes.
All you have to do in a Sasquatch area is sit still. And if he's going to the same park and camping in the same location or relatively the same location for 30 years, that group, in my opinion, knows him.
Yes.
Okay. They know his scent. They know his vehicles. They know how he dresses. They know everything about them. And the fact that he is unique in that area, they already know. They know what he looks like.
Yes.
So I think that big 9-footer stayed far enough away in order to not scare him.
Yes.
But was giving him the messages to say, this is the way you go. Because that man had never harmed the land.
Right.
He'd always respected it. Probably didn't throw his garbage on the ground. Probably, if he's going there 30 years, probably a guy who collects his garbage. Okay.
Oh, sure, yeah.
And brings it in and takes it out. That sort of thing. They seem to know that. Like at Flight 21, pardon me for continuing on.
No, you're fine. You're fine.
Okay. At Flight 21, we had been there, Rob, when we could tell when the ATVers, because they have an ATV group in my town, and they would often go up to the crash site, okay, to snoop around or to go for a coffee or whatever. And they would tear around on the tracks, and you would see where they beat up the tracks. Okay, because ATVs, I love ATVing, but the one thing people never admit to if they're into ATVing is how badly they beat up trails over a vehicle or a motorbike. And we went in there one night and we could tell the ATVers had been in there just by the trails, and you could feel the tension. And I remember, and it's on camera on our YouTube channel on Secrets of the Forest. I actually look at Tim and I say, do you think we should be here? I don't know if we should be here today. And we went out and we calmed it down because they knew that we weren't there to harm the location. We weren't there to take advantage of the location. You know what I'm saying?
Yes,
And I
I
think
do.
that's what happened to this guy.
I think you're on point with all of that, and you're kind of mirroring my thoughts. But I have to ask you this: I don't understand how all of a sudden this terrain changed. I mean, the topography, the trees. When he told me the trees changed from pines or redwoods, I was like at a loss because that's the first time I've heard that personally told to me. And I'm wondering if this man slipped into some sort of portal, right? Because have you ever, Flight 21 era, your terrain, you've been doing it for a while. I don't think I could be wrong. I don't know. Your terrain is always exactly the same, correct? It doesn't have that dramatic change, does it?
That's a good question. There have been times when all of a sudden you're looking around and everything looks the same. The forest has if you haven't spent time in a forest, I'm not saying you, Rob, I'm saying in general people listening. If you've never spent time in a forest and not been lost on a trail that you have been on dozens of times, and one day it just looks different, you've never been in the forest enough. Because here's what I think with that. What would be interesting, because that happened this year, is if he goes back next year, this is the litmus test. If he goes back next year and that trail is gone.
Yes.
Okay. So if you talk to that gentleman, I don't know if he's listening tonight or not, because I need to know.
Oh, yeah.
I totally need to know. Okay. If that trail is gone next year, then maybe he stepped into a different realm, a different portal, or something along those lines. But if not, that trail is still there. It might have been a part of a forest that he just had never experienced there before.
Yes, and I will tell you this, in talking with this man, he was so adamant about 30 years. He said to me, 30 years. I know it like that better my wife, for gosh sakes. So he had me convinced he knew. That's why I was leaning toward a different realm. But I did think about your point that you brought up, because the forest is vast. And I can see where it's very easily where you could be a little bit confused. And he's a little bit older now in age, in his mid-60s. I mean, that's not that old. So I can see perhaps. But, I have his email and his phone number, and I'm going to have to reach out. And I have to pose that question to him when he goes back to look for that trail. Thanks for that, because I wrote that down already, because I'm going to call this guy and remind him to do that.
Oh, yeah. We need that. I need that. I need to next year at this time, we need to talk about this story.
Yes.
We need to. We need an update on that.
I'll definitely mark it down. I'm sure he'll reach out to me. He's a very cool guy.
That is an incredible encounter. And maybe Rob, he walked into one of those portals.
Maybe he did. Maybe.
Like, I can tell you, I think I mentioned this on your show. When Tim and I went into this meadow, okay, we actually lost oxygen in this meadow.
Yeah.
Like, all of a sudden, do you remember that scene in Wizard of Oz, where they take the yellow brick road and then they go through the poppy field to get to the Emerald City?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay? And then the snow starts falling. Okay. And they feel, oh man, I'm just so tired. I'm going to pass out. I need to have a nap. That's exactly what it was like for Tim and I in this meadow. Okay. Except we didn't have snow falling. It felt like there was a lack of oxygen in this one spot. 20 feet back, we could breathe like I'm breathing right now, in between talking to you. But in those spots, both Tim and I could not breathe.
Oh man, there's something going on there, that's for sure. to not breathe. I mean, well, the thing too, though, is that had to have been extremely nerve-wracking. Out of nowhere, you can't breathe.
Looking at the terrain,
Mhm.
because it was a moss floor.
Okay.
Okay, I remember I was looking around and I'm like, and I looking down and I'm like, man, that moss looks so comfortable. I just want to lay down and have a nap.
Yeah,
Right.
lay down, have a nap, lose
Absolutely.
oxygen.
And at the
You know?
same time, Tim is like, man, I wish I had my lawn chair here. This would be a great place for a nap.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I even said to him, I said, I'm struggling breathing.
You know?
I said, the air is, it feels like I'm gasping for air here. And he's like, me too. Right?
You know, I really briefly, I don't know how much time we got before we have to go to the break.
We have 3.5 minutes.
When you were telling me that story and when you just reiterated here today, I've been more involved in the past year and a half with the elementals of the forest and the fae.
Right.
And it's I started digging into this, and I got to tell you, Dave, it is bizarre world when you enter that element, especially with the combination of the two. And I'm thinking now, since I've been kind of researching these things, the elementals, what their deal with the air, wind, fire, water, I believe it is. And I think maybe you got some elementals and some fairies running around that part of your research area.
That could be. That could totally be true.
That'd be food for thought, as a Barry Littleton would say. But yeah, it's something to consider.
That damn Barry Littleton, he's so
know.
smart and good.
I know he's a smart guy.
Oh God, is he smart? We just had him on last week.
Yeah, he's great.
Oh my God, he's so good. So good. You could go check that episode in our archives. But you mentioned the elementals, and I don't have enough knowledge or experience with them to make claims or knowledge. I'm familiar with them.
Yes.
But tell me about your best elemental story of 2025.
Well, when I was talking about this story that I just gave you, that's where I thought that there was part elementals involved with this, Dave. I mean, with the faces in the wood, I kind of attributed this story I just told you to that element, right? Because I told that story to a friend of mine, Monica. In fact, she's a co-host with Monica Rollins, and she her big thing, I brought her on because she's into the fae and the fairies. And when I told her that story, she thought that was the element at hand there. In fact, she attributes a lot of these things to the fae and the fairies. And I'm much like you, Dave. I'm not that well versed. I'm dipping into it. And that's really, for me, the closest thing that I've gotten in 2025 with the elementals. So I can't really give a specific or cite anything. So I'm just cite the story I told you. So just because I'm being honest, because that's the one I'm drawing off of.
I don't blame you on that one, brother.
Yep.
I really don't blame you on that one. I mean, it is something that is, far out there. It really is. And I mean that in a great way, though.
No, it's a great way. What I loved about it, the man made it back. You hear stories that when you've heard them too, people falling into portals, getting sick, not coming back. Another thing about the portals, Dave, people talk about the missing 411 or that coined phrase, but I think the portals are a big part of that too. I know there's so many hunters that you hear these missing report stories on. I think they walk into portals in the forest because you can walk into portals and not realize you walked through one and you're gone forever.
Mm-hmm. That is very true. That is very true. Rob, I'm going to get you to hold on right there because we are going to go to break here at the top of the hour. And we have a great guest for all of you tonight. His name is Rob Carr, but people know him as Bigfoot Michigan Rob on YouTube. You can find him at Bigfoot Michigan Rob. If you want just a nice, relaxing story time of cryptids, this is the show you listen to. Bigfoot Michigan Rob. on YouTube. And we're going to continue with his best stories of 2025 on Spaced Out Radio. Happy New Year, everybody. This is Spaced Out Radio with host Dave Scott. All right, buddy, we're clear. Let me just unmute you.
Happy New Year. Yes, Happy New Year. But
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Arr.
Happy New Year, you filthy animals. Rob, I'm going to put you in the green room. I'm going to be right back.
Yeah, me too. I got to do something right quick.
All right.
But yeah.
Be right back, everybody. Hold on, drop something here. Now I'll be right back. All right, I am back. We got about a minute to go. And bear with me 2 seconds. There we go. And let's bring in Bigfoot Rob.
Hey,
How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great. Great show. Time flies by when you're having fun, doesn't it?
Oh, God, doesn't it ever?
Yeah.
Doesn't it ever? Thank you to Area 54 and T-Bone for our super chats. Greatly appreciate your love and support. Thank you, everybody, for hitting the thumbs up and hitting subscribe. Don't forget to tell a friend or share this show afterwards. We greatly appreciate it. Rono how you doing? Nice to have you here. And here we go, everybody. We are into hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Happy New Year, everybody. We're so glad to be sharing this great night with you. I hope you're having a good one listening in with us as well. Whether you're partying, whether you're sitting at home, or whether you're at work, hopefully, 2026 is going to be amazing for you. Hi to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight, the final one of the year. The final password of the year. What do the clams set for us here? Gallianthropy. Gallianthropy is your password. Use it wisely, space travelers, as the clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Bigfoot Michigan Rob is here. He's got a great YouTube channel with the same name, Bigfoot Michigan Rob. Go hit subscribe on it. You will enjoy it because he brings on a lot of experiencers telling their stories and their research into cryptids, monsters, legends, and so much more. We're glad to have him here as our final guest of 2025. We've already booked him to be our final guest of 2026. Bigfoot Rob, always a pleasure, my friend.
Yes, thank you, Dave. And of course, for people that don't know, Dave didn't even know this. Dave has been on my show because I love Christmas time, and I have my favorite guests on in December. Dave was on now Dave's been on my show probably 8 times, but 4 of them are in December because I love having my buddies that are that I look up to and admire. And Dave, you're one of them.
Thank you.
So yes, that's a tradition. You'll be on every December. Unbeknownst to you, you did not know that, but now you do. And I'll be on with you for your final show of the year. I'm very excited about that.
We love it.
Matey.
Before we get into our next story from you.
Yes.
A lot of people always ask, me at least.
Yeah.
Why do you do this? Why do you chase monsters? Why do you go after these giant creatures that could literally tear you apart? Bigfoot, Dogman, or whatever it else. Why do you do it?
I hate to reflect back on what happened to me. That's one reason. But I will tell you, Dave, long before any experience I've ever had, I was brought up by my dad. Again, I remember waking up when I was old enough to remember television. We did the black and whites. My dad turned me on to the Frankenstein's monster with Boris Karloff, the Wolfman with Lon Chaney, Bela Lugosi, Dracula. And boy, I fell in love with the monsters. And of course, I'm a sports guy too. So Detroit sports is my other passion. And yeah, Dave, I always growing up would watch the scary, the spooky stuff. And then, later on in life, I saw the Patty film. I saw Leonard Nimoy. One of my favorite shows was In Search of, and the other show with Rod Sterling, another black and white, got the Twilight Zone. And I just thought these subjects were so intoxicating. And I knew that there was something out there outside of human beings. Because as an early boy, I saw ghosts. I saw a UFO as a young boy, many other things. And I saw shadow people in my marital years. And yeah, and it all came to a climax in 2018 when I had that one big encounter with Bigfoot. And so I've always loved being scared. Why do I look after them or hunt them? I don't hunt them, of course. I'm not even really a researcher. Do I go into the woods? Yes. But I, much like you now, Dave, you are doing some research, and I think I'll expand my horizons in a few years when I'm able to get out in the forest a lot more and look around. But I've always been fascinated with this genre well before any of this even took off. And now and now I think it's the place I'm supposed to be in, right? I did 20 years with Fords. I did 13 years owning a bar, and I do some bar consulting work, and I do the YouTube, the media thing. And I tell you what, this is not sad to say, but I'm more happy today than I think I've ever been talking about this. I really genuinely mean that, man.
That's great. I think that's wonderful. And you should be happy. I don't know about you, but the allure of being in the forest and being in a location where something unknown may happen and may take place, because we're all living for that 10 seconds.
Yeah.
That's what we're doing.
Yep.
The average Bigfoot sighting is about 10 seconds.
Yes.
Very rarely are you going to see it walking through the trees or walking down a path or whatever. No. You're literally going to have about a 10-second encounter.
Yeah.
And 9.5 times out of 10, you're not going to catch it on your phone. You're going to be in too much of shock.
Oh, that's the question that used to bug me. Rob, how can you get a picture of the Bigfoot you saw? Okay, I'm on a boat with my girlfriend. I'm getting roared, yelled, and screamed at from some creature that's not supposed to exist, right? And it's bearing down on me, and I lost cognizance. My girlfriend falls into the water. Yeah, damn it. And yes, I had my cell phone on me. Do you think I'm stopping to take a picture? And I think you told a story a long time ago about you had a beautiful silver fox pass in front of you or something in your Jeep, and it was beautiful, and you tried to stumble for your phone to take a picture, a lynx, and you were stumbling for your phone, and by the time you got it, it was gone, and you missed the moment fully. Right or wrong? I don't know.
I pissed off that cat. It was sitting there in the middle of the trail. And all of a sudden, all my fingers were thumbs. And finally, I swear to God, and it probably didn't happen.
Yeah.
Okay. But I swear to God, this thing shook his head and saying, "You're an idiot. I don't have time for this. I'm
right. Yeah. So no, hey, listen, people in the thralls of the moment, man, you're not thinking to snap a picture. First of all, I want to absorb the experience. Who cares about a picture? I think that if I got that big shot, I wouldn't share it to anybody, to be honest with you. I just don't think I would. Not right away anyways. And like you mentioned a great point too, because I think I like statistics. I stink at math, but stats and data, it's very important what we do. And yeah, I think something, Dave, it's like 68% of people that have witnessed a Bigfoot, it's under 10 seconds, like you said, and it's typically Bigfoot just crossing the road in the forest on a remote highway where it just goes boom right past you. No one's getting a picture of that, right?
Absolutely.
So yeah, and that's wonderful though.
But you know what? That's the answer that skeptics can have.
Yeah.
Why didn't you do that? Why did you not just take the time? You got a phone right on you. But we could argue that point all night long, my friend.
We can. And I guess what, Dave? After a while, I just I don't pay attention to that anymore because I just don't care anymore about that. I used to try to convince people in the paranormal and Bigfoot that were skeptics. And guess what, Dave? I don't do that anymore either, man.
Ah.
It's too much energy.
Way too much energy. Way too much
So-
energy. You've heard a number of great stories over the year, and I'm curious, you told us a great story in the last half hour
Yep.
about a gentleman walking through the forest that he was familiar with, and the forest changed on him, and a Bigfoot kind of came up to him. What's your next favorite story of 2025?
Does it have to be Bigfoot or Dogman? Because I've got a lot of good Dogman ones.
This is your show. You can tell me
okay.
anything tonight.
Well, since I do have some other good Bigfoot ones, but I must tell you, and maybe you'll agree or disagree, but I found, especially over the last year, Dogman has really started to take hold of the community or in the paranormal world. And I must tell you, this past year, if I get 10 stories or people on the show, out of the 10, I'll be honest with you, 7 are Dogman. And another thing, really briefly, which is going to sound really wild, I find a lot of people when they say Dogman, I find a percentage of people are also using the term werewolf.
Yes.
And which is a whole different. It's that's why I love doing it. The mystery never ends. The rabbit hole never ends. And this is kind of, you can take this one as Dogman / werewolf. But what I love about this story is it takes place in Michigan at the Houghton Lake State Park. Now, and this is like 2.5 mile ride from where I currently reside. And Houghton Lake in the area is also not too far from Wexford, Michigan. And it's not too far from the National Forest where I had my Bigfoot experience. And painting the picture, if you picture Houghton Lake is probably in Michigan for an inland lake, is probably the biggest lake in the state of Michigan. Bigger than the lake where I had my experience, which was Cadillac, Lake Mitchell. It's double that size. And the thing about this place is the wooded area that surrounds this lake is over 200,000 acres of forest. And it's called the Houghton Lake State Park Forest. And there's like five watersheds, or what I should say is there's 5 tributaries from all across Michigan that dump into this lake. And as most people know, or any people that follow the cryptids, Bigfoot, Dogman, waterways, man. Waterways, that's how they travel. Railroad tracks, power lines. It's where a lot of sightings are. So this area is encompassed with the forest and this big lake. Houghton Lake in the area, you've got beautiful homes, you've got people that live in trailers. It's a very mixed society of various backgrounds and socioeconomical influences, right? Or jobs and whatnot. So I was talking to this guy, his name, I think Rick or something like that. I forget his name off the top of my head, but this was in 2025. So I made sure for today's show, I tried to pull things from 2025. And again, being from my state, I talked to this guy this past year, and he was telling me, hey, Rob, I have this trailer home and I converted it into a big mobile home unit. He'd been working on it. He said he bought it in 2020. And at the summer's end of 2025, it was finally completed. But he said the past 5 years, he had been going there every summer. And then it gets too cold, too much snow in the winter. So you want a nice little summer getaway. And his entire, where he has his mobile home, it's in the forest. It's surrounded by the woods. His closest neighbor, he says, is maybe 1,000 feet away, and it's spread out. Very friendly neighbors. He goes in his area. There's maybe 5 neighbors that he knows within the area. So he says one night he's in his home, and he hears, and I have to make mention of this too, in the part of Houghton Lake where he lives, or the woods, it's very dark. He says, Rob, there's not hardly any, there's no telephone poles with lights. Your lighting is either you get a outside lights on your home, or carry a big ass flashlight. Oh, I don't know if I can say that on the radio. Sorry. So, and he says, Rob, I just have a porch light. I have a porch light on the back of my house. And when I go out at night, I just take a big flashlight. So he says, one night, he's up, he says about midnight, and he hears walking on the outside of his house. And he says, Rob, it was very heavy footfall. And he says it was too heavy to be a person, he's thinking. And he hears the leaves of sticks cracking. And he says he gets a little scared. So he looks out one of the windows. On one side of his mobile home, he pointed out to me, no windows. He goes, Rob, why he did that, I don't know. But there's a deck there and a door. But the other side, windows. So he looks out his windows. He can't see anything. But he hears this crunch, crunch, thud, thud. So he gets out on his, opens his door. He gets out on a smaller porch, not the big porch. Who's there? He yells out, who's there? And as soon as he says that footfall, it stops. He had a flashlight on him. He shined it all about and saw nothing. But he was kind of a little spooked. So he stayed up most of the night just trying to listen for this footfall. He says he drifts off to sleep. So the next morning he gets up, and again, he thought it was odd simply because it's so dark that no one's walking around at night. So he went to his neighbor down where, however far away it was, I think he said 1,000 feet or something, knocks on his door, meets with his neighbor. He says, hey, Randy, I had an odd experience. I think there was somebody out walking around my house last night, and I went out and I couldn't see him. And he told this man, his neighbor, but it didn't sound like human. It didn't sound like human. He said it was just very heavy. And the man looks at him and says, no, I didn't have any experience or hear that. And then he even said, it's kind of odd. It's so dark around here. He'll be walking around at midnight. He goes, yeah, that's what I thought too. So he says, well, whatever. I just want to put you on notice that I think that maybe there's a prowler around, a very big prowler. Okay, this, that, and the other. So the next day, the guy goes into town, whatever, collects his goods, and he does his thing. And then later than that following night, he's in bed. Dave, it starts up again.
No way.
He hears this. He hears this. And now the guy's he's kind of scared. He grabs his shotgun. He opens his back door and he yells, and he still hears the footfall in the distance, but he can't see nothing. He's got a big flashlight. He shines, sees nothing. Who's out there? And he warns them, I have an RP. I have a weapon.
A pew-pew.
Pew-pew. Yeah, I'm sorry. I was trying to think what you told me the other day, but I forgot.
Pointy stick.
Mickey stick, yeah. So nothing. And so he's like, man. But then as he's outside, he hears nothing. Then all of a sudden, Dave, he hears that same footfall, and he senses and notices that the footfall that he heard out in his property is on the top of his mobile home.
No.
Yeah. So he's like, oh, Lordy. So he now gets off of his porch with the pew-pew, and he's looking up. He can't see anything. Then all he says, Rob, I got to tell you something. And the moon was high. That had the best light was the moon. And it was a full bright moon. And he sees this object rise from the top of his roof on his trailer. He says, Rob, this thing. He goes, Rob, I'm looking up at it, and I'm maybe 10 feet from my trailer. And here he sees this thing stand up. He says, Rob, the moon shined on it brilliantly. It lit this thing up pretty nicely. He says he sees this two-legged creature, animal. He goes, Rob, I think it looked like a werewolf. He said it had this big head. He said a long snout and muzzle. He said it had fangs that glistened off the reflection from the moon, high pointed ears, he tells me. He says, and he's looking at this thing. He says, he raises his pew pew stick. Sorry, I got to get used to that one. And it jumps off. He says, this thing jumps off of the roof toward this guy and starts running at this guy. Not a bluff charge. It's running at him. He says this thing towered over him. And he can see it looks like a werewolf. He says, and I'm like, okay, wow, what happened? What happened? What's going on here? He says, Rob, it ran right past me. And he says, the way that his feet pounded into the ground, it vibrated the ground. And he fell down from that shock, from the vibration. He says it was like 3 feet. It blasted past me. It gets to the woods, into the wood line. He says, I got up. I pulled out his blah, blah, blah. He fires out into the woods. And I'm like, wait a minute. You did that? Why? I mean, was there neighbors? What are you doing? He goes, no. The direction it was going, there's nothing back there for miles. Nope. No, nothing. I said, well, still, I just kind of risky. He goes, dude, Rob, I was just like petrified. So so the big bang goes off. Then all of a sudden, his one neighbor he saw earlier in the day runs to his house because they heard the noise of the blast, and another neighbor comes up and they're saying, what happened, man? What's going on here? And so this guy told his neighbor, Ricky, Jimmy tells Ricky, remember last night I told you about that footfall and this, that, and the other? He goes, yeah, well, it came back, but I got to tell you, you're not going to believe me when I tell you this. It came back. And the guy goes, it? What do you mean it? He goes, not only it was on top of my house, my mobile house. He goes, what was it? He goes, well, you're not going to believe me. It was like an oversized wolf, but it was on 2 legs. It reminded me of a werewolf. He goes, I seen it distinctly. It jumped down. It brushed past me. I fired. And the guy's looking at him. And the other neighbor that came over is looking at him. And now there's a congregation of about 2 or 3 other neighbors, Dave, that come up to this guy.
Right.
And then they start talking to him. And they said, we got to tell you something. You said werewolf. Well, I don't know. We don't know all about the werewolf. And we know that you've been here for 5 years and you're only here during the summer. But we've all experienced that same sort of creature at least once.
Oh, my.
And he says, and he goes, well, what'd you guys do about this? He goes, we've called the sheriff, DNR, reported it. He says, they laugh. You guys are seeing things. It's another predator. It's no werewolf. It's no Dogman. It's not a try to make him sound foolish. It's not a wolf that walks on 2 legs, bottom line, right? That's that big. So these people corroborated with him that he wasn't crazy, which was cool, that they'd seen such a thing. And you know, Dave, like I told you, in this part of town, it's like the Dogman capital of the world here in the state of Michigan. This whole area. And I believe the guy saw something, and the neighbors corroborated that. And he's actually, I'll give you the link when he comes on, because he's going to come on my show in 2026 and tell his story in his words. And yes, Dave. So
I want you to hold that thought, because we do have to go to break here.
Oh, wow. Already?
We have another 30 minutes with Bigfoot Michigan Rob.
Very good.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with your host, Dave Scott.
All right, buddy. We are clear. Let me unmute you here. This is going by way too fast.
Dave, I can't. We just sat down for break.
I know.
Maybe I'm too long-winded, man. I don't. I didn't know. I thought.
No, you're doing, dude. I am at the edge of my seat. I am at the edge of my seat.
But I got to tell the details best I can remember. You know, and that's fascinating. And my God, Dave, this is an awesome show. I'm having a great time. Thank you. Thanks for having me on. Thanks to everybody out there as well for coming on in tonight. I see Bigfoot Fidesz. I love Bigfoot Fidesz. She does all my intros and extras. She's awesome. Thank you, Bigfoot Fidesz. And thanks to all you guys.
That's awesome. 1 second.
Yep.
I'm doing a big order for myself during the break.
Very nice. Big order.
Yeah, I got to upgrade my t-shirt collection here.
Oh, okay.
It's kind of hard to do the show if you're not wearing your own stuff. You know what I'm saying?
That, you read my mind because people are telling me, people that follow me and even my own family, because my own family digs what I do. They do. And they're, Rob, how come you don't have bandanas? You're known for bandanas. You have all these cool bandanas, no BMR bandanas. You got no BMR. I shut down my Teespring account because I'd be in BMR. In fact, T-Bone, I seen him in the chat, has one. But man, that's such a crappy outfit. So I'm putting together. I've got with finally a good merchandising company that I think we're going to redo my stuff in 2026 because Rob, you don't wear your own swag. I said, I really don't have any, and the swag I got, I don't like. Unlike you, Dave, you don't have ugly swag. Well, frankly, mine wasn't ugly, but it was poor quality and too much money. So I'm trying.
I use Printify.
Printify.
Yeah.
Okay. I got you.
And then I design all my own logos.
Yeah, no, I do that
on Chat GPT.
Okay. Yeah, my buddy Fidesz, she helps me. She doesn't know it yet. I'm playing with her. She's in the chat room. She'll be getting together with me on that, I think. Because I want to put out some good merchandise for the folks. And I had like 500 items. I was like, Rob, why do you have all these items? Just go with hoodies, t-shirts, bandanas, and maybe a glass or a tumbler for coffee. That's all you need. Someone said, Rob, you got too much crap. I'm like, yeah, I do, probably.
Oh, yeah. I know that feeling.
You say you got to cut it down, make it easy.
I just never know what
I'm
to get.
taking the note down. Thanks. Pardon me, Dave. I'm sorry.
I just never know what to get.
Yeah, that's a problem. But I think the numbers, I looked up a lot of research. For me personally, the bandanas definitely would be a hit, but people love their hoodies, man. They love their hoodies and t-shirts. That's the number two. Those are the two big sellers, and maybe also tumblers and coffee mugs, or not the coffee mugs, the big thermos one.
Yep.
Yeah, those are popular. That's all I'm going to stick with. I'm not doing this other crap that everybody does.
I know that feeling.
So Sprintify,
Printify.
Printify.
Yeah.
I write that down.
The only problem is they don't have bandanas. I already looked.
No, I do have a separate person for that. No, that's one separate person, which I don't know how to put, which don't have a store. So I'd have to do that. I'd have them all here. I would just have to ship them to folks, which is kind of, I don't know. We'll see. It's all trial and error, man.
Got about 20 seconds here. Thank you to Area 54. Thank you to T-Bone for our great super chats. Greatly appreciate you supporting us each and every night. Thank you for the love, guys. Thank you very much for the love. And here we go. Here we go with the second half of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Happy New Year to all of you great people out there. I hope you enjoy your 2026 as much as maybe you did 2025, or if 2025 was one of those boondoggle years for you. Hopefully, fingers crossed, and pray to the gods out there that 2026 is much better for you. My name is Dave Scott. We love bringing this show to you. We'll bring on Bigfoot Michigan Rob momentarily. But first, we want to remind all of you that if you've missed portions of this show or others, our archives are always free on YouTube or any major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Here we go. Bigfoot Michigan Rob, a great YouTube channel that goes through a ton of experiences. Some may even say a plethora of experiences with the unknown. And Bigfoot Rob, thank you so much for being here. Tell everybody where they can find your YouTube channel and hit subscribe.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dave, for that. Yeah, simply Bigfoot Michigan Rob. That's my YouTube channel. Thank you so much. I'm on 3 days a week. Tuesday, 9 o'clock in the East, Thursday afternoon at 1 in the East, and Saturday night at 11 in the East. I've got 3 wonderful co-hosts, Brandy, Krista, and Monica. They all rotate on and off with me. Thank you for that. That's my focus is my channel. You can also find me on Twitter at Bigfoot_Rob, I think. But yeah, YouTube is my main focus. Of course, on Facebook at Rob Carr or Rob Carr. You'll find everything else. Yeah, but thank you. Yeah, Bigfoot Michigan Rob YouTube. And also, I have 2 books out there. And simply type, again, I make it easy. Type Bigfoot Michigan Rob on your Amazon browser. And I have 2 volumes out. They're doing pretty good, pretty well. I'm proud of them. And what it is people I've interviewed over the years that allowed me to use their stories in my books, which is amazing. So yeah, I really appreciate that. And if you do buy the books, please leave a review, because it's all about algorithms, like the like button and leaving comments on YouTube. If you bought the book, for those out there that maybe have already, please leave a review. It does help promote the book sales with Amazon. So thank you so much. Bigfoot Michigan Rob on YouTube.
You were talking about the Dogman and werewolf sightings.
Yes.
Where the heck are all of a sudden all these werewolf sightings coming from? In fact, I noticed it around October, where all of a sudden people were claiming to have these werewolf encounters. There was even one about an hour and a half drive from me, north of me, where one of my paranormal research friends who lives up there, she goes to an area that's haunted, and she pulled up to this vehicle, and they're like, hey, like these people out of the blue said, hey, what brings you up here? Oh, she's like, oh, nothing, just, gonna go for a walk. Well, watch out, because the werewolf is out tonight. She goes, werewolf? What do you mean by that? And they explained that they were out there sitting in their vehicle with their windows open, listening to the werewolf howl in the trees.
Jeez, man. I tell you what, over the last year, like I said, the Dogman big time this past year, and a lot of people, as I mentioned, as you just brought up, a lot of werewolf, they're using that term. I have found the majority that I've gotten from my home backyard of Michigan, Wisconsin, the Ohio Valley, Pennsylvania, Missouri, pretty much, Dave, the Midwest is where I've got from this phenomenon, whatever you want to call it. And unlike Bigfoot, Dave, they want to be left alone for the most part. I'm not speaking out of fact, but hey, let's face it, the data proves it. They want to be left alone. But you know the thing about Dogman, or let's go with werewolf, but the Dogman, Dave, they like when you see them. They don't hide from us because it's over the last year. People have been seeing these things, and they are there, I think, to scare people. Because if you go and talk about Bigfoot, half the encounters you read or you talk to with folks, again, more docile, less intimidating. Yeah, they might run through your camp, they might knock down your tent, they might bump into your trailer, right? The Dogman / werewolf, they want you to know they're there. And I think they want you to know that they can eat you. I think they want
Oh
you
yeah.
to be scared of them.
Oh yeah.
That's and I think more and more people are coming out because they're petrified. We've all heard about the land between the lakes. Okay, fine. But there's a lot of these things going on outside of just Kentucky, Tennessee border, man. They are like in the Midwest. Don't hear too much in the Pacific Northwest. That's, again, every year that's the number one area for Bigfoot. I mean, that's it's kind of the way it rolls. But man, Dave, these Bigfoot, like I said, this past year, if I get 10 people on or get 10 stories throughout the year, every 10, 6 are Dogman. And of those 6, 2 are mentioning werewolf. And I don't get it. And I think more people are open about it now because let's face it, the internet is saturated with shows like this, mine, yours, others, and people I think are more open to talking about it. Now,
Right.
It's hard to discern whether they're full of BS or not. Again, as I told you earlier in the show, it's not my concern. But you just wonder. But I can always tell when something's made up because I was an English major in college in communications and marketing, and I can tell when somebody's writing me a story that they're writing it, but it's computer generated AI, But with that put aside, a lot of these I truly believe in, especially where I live. The last story I just told you, I firmly believe that guy had something happen to him.
Yes. No, I fully get you on that, my friend. I mean, there is something strange going on, and it seems to be expanding the phenomena that is out there. Quickly here, before you get to another story, Paramarv is asking, do you have any information or update on the father-son encounter near Monroe, Michigan around Memorial Day?
I do not. Thank you, Paramar, for that.
Tell us that story. Tell us that story.
It was a brief story. It was about it was a father and a son, and they were in Monroe County. Now I'm very familiar. It was a very marshy land, and in fact, this broke on the news because this broke on the news on my television, and I had incorporated into my show that same day. It was about a father and son that he came across and experienced what they call was a Bigfoot. They came from up on the marsh and ran across the marsh, across the wood line into the trees. And they reported this. It made the news, and people around there, this father and son were the only people that experienced it. But what had happened was a couple months later, more people had come forward and said they'd seen something that wasn't human and not a bear or anything else roam in those areas. So that was a follow-up piece to what Paramarv is asking. But it was a short tidbit. And when I went online, it was probably an 8-line blurb because let's face it, a lot of these you get it from the actual news, which was from the actual news report. They still don't take it seriously.
Oh, no.
Dave. So the more you dig, that's all the information I do have on that one. I wish I had more, but I'm not going to make nothing up for the show. That's all I have.
Well, that also leads to a comment here from Bigfoot Banter with Richie B in our chat room, who says, you think there are more reports because we have more shows on the internet or radio, so people are getting comfortable as it becomes more mainstream and acceptable to discuss. True, but those stories are also getting diluted.
Yes. I think, yeah, Bigfoot banter, Richie. I think that, yes, more people are coming forward with reports and stories or encounters on the internet and radio because they do hear them quite often. If you're in tune to what we're talking about, you get a lot more of them. But Dave, that's a great point because I got to tell you what ticks me off the most. I had a guy come on a show and he gave me a cool Bigfoot report, good story. He was on a show,
Right.
and he was referred to me by one of our a person we know, Carter. You know Carter, right? And I'm talking to this man, and, there was a lot of woo in it. A lot of woo was involved. Excellent story. And I said, "Where can I find this?" He says, "Well, it's on the BFRO report," which whatever. So I looked at it, and the story he told me was exactly the same, except for one thing. And guess what that was, Dave?
What's that?
It was sanitized, and anything that was regarding
Yep.
the paranormal, the woo was missing. The story was completely what he told me exactly, minus the real important information, which was about the woo.
Absolutely. And what's funny is when David Paulides' latest movie came out, documentary on Bigfoot came out, it was talked about how in the movie, how the BFRO scrubs their reports.
Yeah.
And who's the head of it? Cliff Barrickman?
No, I think Matt Moneymaker. Yeah.
Matt Moneymaker came out and was calling BS on all of this. We don't scrub reports. And everybody is hammering on them saying, yeah, you do. If you all of a sudden have a Bigfoot encounter where the Bigfoot disappears, vanishes, not walks into the trees, you don't do that.
Yeah.
Real science, not made up science. Like we have a bunch of made up, false, fake journalists in our field. Okay. But real science goes with what the story has. You don't edit it to make your statistics look better. You don't.
No. And when I found that, then I started doing some more research on things I couldn't find a single BFRO report that had anything that was weird. And I got to tell you a story. I was in a conference 4 years ago in Alabama, and I met some of these guys. I'm not going to name their names, Dave, but they were people that are well known, and we were hitting it off very well. I was a rookie in the business or in this field, and I was eating up what they were telling me. And a couple of them were on television, right? And we were having a good time, and I thought that they liked me. And in fact, they did like me, Dave. I'm not going to say they didn't. However, later in the night, when we're all sitting around after having dinner, we all mosey up to the bar, have a drink or two, and I brought up this. It's one of these guys. I says, I don't think that Bigfoot's necessarily all flesh and blood. I think there's an element of the paranormal associated. As much as I thought they liked me, do you know that they shut me down immediately, got up and walked away and didn't speak to me the rest of the night? I mean, it was that bad, Dave. It was that bad.
I
felt like dirt. I did. I felt bad for a little bit.
Oh, I didn't. I sat at a dinner table last year, and the only name that I will mention that was public was the late, great Dr. Jeff Meldrum was at that table.
Okay.
And we're all out for dinner at this conference here in British Columbia. And they're all talking about the monkey, the primate, whatever you want to call it. And I just sat there. And the next day I spoke. I was the first speaker on Sunday morning. And I get up there and I got Dr. Jeff Meldrum right there with his gorgeous beard that he had.
Yeah.
And I said to this crowd, I said, we don't know what it is. We don't know if it's flesh and blood. We don't know if it's flesh and blood with superpowers. We don't know if it's a fairy, nothing. And anybody who tells you that they do know is lying to you.
Agreed. I agree with you.
And there was this one guy there, And thank God I forget his name because I'd embarrass him on it.
Yeah, right.
Okay. He was Mr. Science.
Oh yeah, Mr.
You know,
Science.
he's up there in his blazer and he's,
Yeah.
strutting his stuff and he's, I
Yeah,
do this and look at the gear that I bring and
Yeah,
I'm
right.
smart and you're not. And this woo is just a bunch of garbage. And
Yeah.
in the meantime,
Oh, man.
he's saying this as the conference is held on indigenous land with indigenous people all inside.
Oh,
Okay. So I get up there the next day and I'm thinking, because I got to meet a few of these indigenous people and
Yeah.
their stories were phenomenal.
Oh,
Okay.
yes.
Phenomenal. So
Yes,
I get up there and I'm kind of like, and I say and I look right at this guy on stage, Rob, and I'm like, it's not happening. Nobody knows. You can
Yeah.
believe, but science doesn't show it. Okay. Science
No,
hasn't
yeah.
proven what this creature is or is not yet. So we don't
Yeah.
know. And he would not talk to me the rest of the conference, man. It was
Yeah.
awesome.
No, I believe that. And when I said that, they made me feel. I felt like dirt because they just like they looked down on me like I was trash. I mean, you should have seen the expression on these two guys' faces. Again, they're well known. You all know if you follow Bigfoot, you know who they are. But you bring up a great point, and I had even made mention one last thing that really ticked them off, Dave. I said, what about the elders? What about the First Nations?
Yes.
We're probably 70% believe they're spiritual in nature and have some other out of body experience with them. So do you shun them all too? And then that's when they really got, they would have given me the finger, but it was a bunch of people around, right? And boy, that's the thing. That's why I love doing what I do, because I think out of the box, you think out of the box. It's not one thing. I welcome I welcome everybody's thought process, hypotheses, experiences, because no, Dave, it's not some dumb ape that runs around.
Agreed.
It is not at all. I'm totally not an aper. I'm
No.
not, it is what it is.
Look, you're allowed to hypothesize.
Yes, you are. For
Nobody's
sure.
saying if you believe it's flesh and blood, that's great. You're allowed. I got a lot of flesh and blood friends
Yes,
out
sure.
there. Lee Strauss is a flesh and blood kind of guy.
Yeah.
Okay. And he's on my team. Right. But he also doesn't rule out something different because his belief tells him otherwise. And that's the issue that we have in the Bigfoot world. That is the big one.
Yes.
And you get these people who've been on TV, they've found the cowboy hat that looks good, the facial hair that goes along with it. They wear their camouflage clothing and they're the only ones who know what's going on, because this creature literally could be flesh and blood, as well as having supernatural powers as well.
I just don't see how it can't. And I always reflect on this story that I remember from Ron Moorhead, who's been on a couple times. I talking with Ron off camera, and he said, Rob, if you would have came up to me 30 years ago and started going all woo on me, he says, I would have turned you around and said, young man, come back to me when you get your senses together. Back 30, 40 years ago. He told me that today, it's what I love about Ron. He's out of the box and he's changed his perception. He tells me today he believes that they're paranormal elements.
Absolutely.
He even went as far as to tell me, Dave, that he would not rule out that they're even possibly alien. And I'm talking alien from outer space. Now he says, I wouldn't rule it out. He goes, I'm not going to tell you I believe that 1,000%, but I think that they are definitely not just flesh and blood. So that's why I love Ron Moorhead, from the people I've spoken with that have a lot of time on them in this field. He's the only one that thinks out of the box and has changed his tune. He's not like I did this. like a horse is blind, you know. I mean,
Right.
if you're this, how are you gonna learn? How are you gonna expand? That's boring. You're boring. You're boring me. Like these same old guys that go to these conferences and they show the same charts, the same speech at every conference. When I go to a conference, I want to go to find people that I don't know. I want to hear what they have to say.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely. And for God's sakes, going into 2026, can we have a New Year's resolution for those people who speak at 1,001 conferences every year?
I know.
Okay.
Oh my-
Please change your speech.
Please change it.
You know,
Yeah.
please change your speech.
And don't show me the same. And what's even that's bad enough. You know what's even worse? They show the same slideshow from 30 years. The same, no pictures are the same. The typewritten, aid for them to read off of is the same. Oh my God, it's more boring than high school. It's terrible.
As Stanton Friedman once said, he made a good living off of giving the same speech for 15 years.
He said the same speech you said. I'm sorry, I missed.
He said, Stanton Friedman stated that he made a very good living giving the same speech for 15 years in UFOs.
What's your take on that? To me, it just sounds like you just want to make $1. And I don't know the man too well.
I don't mind. I mean, he's deceased now, but I mean, it's the same with these other guys.
Okay.
You
gotcha.
know,
Yeah.
they think because they've been on a documentary or a television series. The funny part about it for our radio audience is here's a true story. I once had these two researchers out of Washington State come on the show. They were all woo. And then all of a sudden, they had a documentary film company come out and film their project. And immediately their attitudes changed and they went straight flesh and blood. Okay. Just like everybody else. And the funny part about it is I called out the one person and I finally had enough. I said, you know what? You guys, the last time you were on this show, so-and-so, I said, you stated the opposite.
Oh, see,
You were completely, I called them out on it.
yeah,
You know,
good for
because
you, man.
the interview was getting bad because they were trying to get a little bit snarky with me about the woo aspect of everything. I wasn't having it because I remembered the last show I did with these guys. I said, all of a sudden a camera basically gets in your face and you change your attitude on it. I said,
No, man, it's fake.
no, it's not working.
It's the power of people. I don't know. I would never do that. I'd never. How do you just do that? I don't
It
know.
happens though.
I guess
they
you
think
can
it
never
makes them
say
more
never.
credible.
Yes. Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Yeah, the woo is not credible. Well, you know what? Never finding Bigfoot, right? They've
Yeah.
never found it in 20 years.
Absolutely.
Just saying. Let's just say.
Absolutely, brother. My friend, we got 20 seconds left with you tonight. Big thank you, Rob. Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year to you, Dave, and everybody in chat. Again, Dave, love you, man. I've learned a lot from you over the years. I'm glad we're friends, and I appreciate everybody that might have subscribed tonight. If not, Bigfoot Michigan Rob on YouTube, please. I just want to grow this into the new year. Of course, any of my people that are here, if not subscribe to Dave, subscribe to Dave as well.
Bigfoot Michigan Rob, everybody. Coming up next, kickoff hour 3, our final hour of 2025. Because I'm on the West Coast.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with your host, Dave Scott.
We'll have Swamp Dweller to kick things off. Thank you, buddy.
Hey, thank you, Dave.
Love you,
My
buddy.
pleasure. Loved it. I had a great time. I can't believe it. 2 hours went by in like 10 minutes.
Right?
Yeah.
Excuse me. Oh, my goodness. Yeah, that one Flew right by, dude. Oh my goodness.
I hope everybody enjoyed it. I know I did.
I did too. All right, buddy.
All right, man.
Ooh, sorry, I'm just all of a sudden getting a sneeze.
Yeah, hey, get it out of you now before you have to come back up. But thanks, Happy New Year, Happy New Year to everybody else.
We'll talk soon, okay?
All right, brother. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Bigfoot Michigan Rob, everybody. I'll be right back. Excuse me. Let's bring Robin in. Hi, Robin.
Hi, how are you?
Oh, I'm good. I'm just going to blow my nose here. Bear with me.
I'm doing the same thing. I'm over here coughing and sneezing.
I got hit with a sneezing fit just as we went to break.
I just started up about a half hour ago. I can't quit.
Yep. Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year to you too. You got plans for tomorrow night?
No. No, I'm boring that way.
I am too.
Cosmic Joe, how are you? Nice to see you. Who else came in here? Let's have a quick look. All right, Swamp Dweller's a little bit long. It's about 6.5 minutes, okay?
Sounds good.
Thank you to T-Bone ×2. Thank you to Area 54 for our lovely super chats tonight. Purple Cupfish, how you doing? Nice to see you. And don't forget you can shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. I did tonight, and I put Appetite for SOR up on the store now. Thank you for the idea, guys. Thank you. I couldn't do a headband, though. I couldn't do a headband. So let's take that off because Bigfoot Rob is gone. Let's put the Bigfoot hat on. And here we go. Third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio for 2025. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you very much for tuning us in wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Gallianthropy. Gallianthropy is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Let's head to the swamp.
Hello and welcome to Spaced Out Radio's Swamp. I'm Swamp Dweller, and tonight I'm going to take you on a mystic journey of the unknown, sharing tales of monsters, legends, and nightmares. Welcome to the Spaced Out Radio Swamp. I loved camping. I used to spend every waking moment either camping or planning a camping trip. I loved being outdoors, away from the suffocating mundanity of everyday events, the first world problems, so to speak. I used to do it hardcore too, making shelters instead of taking a tent, drinking from mountain streams, hunting, and setting traps for our food. So in April of last year, 2 friends and I departed on a 4-night hiking and camping trip on the Appalachian Trail. With loads more than 50 pounds, we marched 20 miles into the lush, green hills before reaching our first major water source, a long strip of tranquil, clear water set in a picturesque valley. The journey took us about 2 days, with around 18 hours of straight marching, our packs digging agonizingly into our shoulders with every step. Yet the sense of achievements was intoxicating. Days and night rolled by as we worked on our way along the trail, foraging food as we went. It was tiring, a constant struggle, but the sense of peace that the outdoors can provide is profound. At night, we skewered hot dogs on sticks, wolfing them down as we warmed sweet apple cider in our mess tins over the fire. We listened to owls call out like ghosts and watched embers dance up into the air like fireflies as our eyelids grew heavy. We found a fair amount of fruit and fresh water. It was plentiful, but our attempts at finding protein came short at each turn. We were unable to find any duck eggs, too slow or too inexperienced to snare rabbits, and our improvised fishing rods weren't working as well as we were used to. We were getting desperate, and although we were trying, man cannot live on cereal bars and peanut butter alone. We would have to take a journey to the nearest town, nearly 7 miles away. This is where things get bad, because we got lost. After a few hours of walking, we began to climb a steep hill by means of a shortcut. The whole way up, I remember watching a thick fog cling to the top of the hill, at least 500 meters above us. Only it wasn't exactly clinging. It was just waiting for the temperature to drop low enough for it to roll down onto us, over us, and it did. I remember the image of my friend Chris being severely obscured as I walked behind him. We tried to remain cheerful. Then we came upon what seemed to be the remains of a newborn lamb. April is a birthing month for sheep, so this isn't necessarily an unusual sight, but these remained completely unscathed. No scavengers had touched these corpses. There were quite a few of them. We were relieved when the outline of a cottage came into view. We had absolutely no idea where we were, and there was no mention of any cottage on our map. My feet ached and our water supplies dwindled. Having not expected to be out or lost for such a long time, we decided to stop and ask for directions. We had to climb over a low, dry stone wall to reach the building itself. As the cottage was oddly set into the hillside, I noted with grim interest that there was no path leading to or from any kind of road or highway, the dwelling being completely cut off from all human contact. We stopped as we reached the front gate, or what passed off as a front gate. It was made of a few roughly cut tree limbs, crudely bound together with rusted nails and rotting twine. Chris tried to open it, but there was no hinge. It just fell back onto his hands. He set it aside politely, albeit confusedly. The small courtyard before the front door was overgrown with weeds, grass growing long between the broken slabs of concrete beneath our feet. Dotted around a smaller front garden was an assortment of curios placed in decorative positions. Things were tied to the branches of a sapling in the center of the haggard lawn. Small toy cars, tennis balls, a hairbrush. A wheelbarrow sat at the front of it, filthy from exposure, containing a few soggy-looking books, some VHS cassettes, and a children's action figure. They were oddly arranged in a rough circle around the action figure. Arriving nervously at the door, I reached my arm out, feeling it grow heavy as I made a fist. I rapped 3 times, making it shake under the force, then waited, listening for signs of life, peering through a small, filthy window to the right of the decrepit door. I could make out yet more assorted, seemingly non-related items scattered on the shelves and tables. That's when I turned to Chris. I remember simply remarking that we should move on, and that there was nobody home. But he didn't respond. There was something about him. He looked pale and confused. I can hardly explain it now, but I tried to recall it. He'd been looking through the grubby windows as I had been knocking on the door and had gotten a much better look inside the house. It was almost like he had seen something but just could not explain what it was. He began shaking his head violently, hyperventilating, as he rushed out of the little courtyard. I was completely confused, a little frightened, and began shouting after him, asking him why the hell he was acting so strange. Yeah, the little cottage was weird as hell, but he was acting like he had just seen a ghost or something. He only replied to me once through gritted teeth. "We need to leave now." Later that night, while we were nursing beers around our campfire, I finally plucked up the courage to ask him what he had seen through the window. He started shaking his head in that same weird way, stuttering as he tried to find the words to articulate himself. He went on to explain that someone had been in that cottage the whole time, hiding from us. That as I had been banging away, trying to get their attention, that they had taken one solitary look outside at us, right into my buddy's eyes. My buddy said he had never seen anyone so messed up, but he couldn't tell if they were disabled or if they had just been beaten so badly that their face had been rearranged. He said that when they'd locked eyes, the figure on the other side of the glass looked honestly terrified. But there's no way that they could have been surviving alone up there. Something else was living there too. Something that might have been heading back to us, to arrive at any moment. I thank God we didn't find out what it was.
Thank you, Swamp Dweller, for another spooky story. If you want more just like that, head on over to YouTube, type in Swamp Dweller, hit subscribe, ring that bell. Thousands of stories there for you to listen to each and every day and night. It's very enjoyable. Now, from the stars to the forest, let's bring in Robin Haynes for the final cryptid Q&A of 2025.
Robin Haynes walks off where the tall trees sway. She hears Bigfoot whisper what the wind won't say. Through the veil of the forest where the wild man plays, the Bigfoot psychic talks to Sasquatch every day. only on Spaced Out Radio's Cryptid Q&A.
Robin Haynes, it's always great to have you on this show. Looking back at 2025, it's been an exciting year for you and for many others in the cryptid world. What made 2025 special for you?
Oh, wow. So many things. I think the contact with them, whether it's verbally speaking to them or if it's mind speak, and then after they'll do what I call the love bubble, where they project love onto you and you can feel that. And it's such a deep love. It's deeper than what we normally have, like as far as for our type of humans. And it just takes your breath away. It makes you want to cry. I think the other thing for me was this year, the people that I work with, my clients that always end up as my friends, just watching them grow, watching them get that contact with the cryptids, watching them learn how to mind speak, have them get that love bubble. It just blows my mind. And to see the joy that they get out of it, that really did a lot for me this year. Just really filled my heart.
That's amazing. You've had a great year here on
I
Space.
have. Thank you. I've loved it here. You guys are always so good to me, and I am always so humbled when I'm here.
It's always great to have you with us. Is there a particular story that you have of 2025 that you would like to reshare?
Wow, let me think. I think just when, like, I'll go places and it's like they show up and I've got people with me and they're like, what just happened? And I'm like, I have no idea. Like, I don't know why it happens. It just does. I don't think there's any just one. I think working with one that's out of state and I go to visit now and then, and that verbal communication with him, going out on the land that I have out of state, and the group out there, and having them just walk up to me, and some will come up and they're semi-cloaked, so you can see the outline of them, or you can see them shimmering, but you can still see them, and they'll get like 2 foot from you, while others are running around, fully uncloaked, and you can see them, and just building that trust. It's just amazing to me. It really, really is, and I get such joy out of working with different people and then having them get those kind of contacts and that kind of, communication with them, and just hearing the joy in their voice. I mean, I don't think there's any just one. I think when it comes to that, I'm really blessed. Driving down the road, you can mind speak to anything much better when you're driving down the road. You're moving through space where everything is telepathic and can listen at every time. When you are driving, walking, in a boat, in a car, on a bike, but you're moving, it takes more energy for them to track you, locate you, and listen in. So if they're not really interested, they're just being nosy, they usually drop it and they don't. But if they have something really important to say to you when you're in the car, they'll talk. And I will get in the car, and like if they're trying to talk to me through mind speak and I feel like everything is listening, I'll go for a ride in the car. Or they'll tell me to go get in the car, and I'll just drive. Like, I just drive around for hours at a time, and they'll give me different things that they want me to do. Or, will you go to this grave site and bless it? Will you go and clear the land in this area? Or we need you to push energy here or whatever. And it just blows my mind. I think the other thing, and I don't necessarily know that it's a good thing, but it happens. If I travel, they mess with my GPS. And I always end up, like, I am very competent as far as using a GPS and getting wherever I need to go. I've driven from Michigan to Florida, back and forth, east to west in the US, and I don't have a problem getting where I need to go, but they consistently mess with my GPS. And I find myself on these deserted roads in the middle of nowhere where it's nothing but woods. And then I'm like, okay, who, what, and what do you need? And so it's fun. It's annoying when I've got to be somewhere because they will literally shut down the power to the GPS or anything else until I'm, there and they've said their piece. But it's also got they're funny little guy or big guys. They really are, and it's always unique. So it's adventuresome on a slow day.
When you talk about the mind speak, what's the difference between mind speak and telepathy?
Nothing. It's just a different term. The thing is when it comes to either term, it's so misleading. People think with telepathy, it's this connection mind to mind, which it is, and they're going to hear words. They think the same thing with mind speak, and then they don't realize, or the people that are getting it know it now, but what they're not realizing is there is no limit to how many ways you can get it. It can be a thought. It can be an image, a picture, letters spelling out words. It can be playing like a movie in your mind. It can also be something as simple as a sense of knowing, and you don't know why you know it. You just know it, like getting an answer given to you. It could be just a feeling, an emotion you don't understand. Well, you get an emotion, you're like, okay, but who's doing it? Because it's not mine. There is literally an unlimited amount of ways you can get mind speak or telepathy. But in my personal opinion, it's basically the same thing. And both words do not describe it properly. When I was a kid, and I was never great at math. Math was not, my strong suit. And I can remember being in like 9th, 10th grade. I would go in and I'd sit down and they would give me, all this math work. I would look at it and I would have the answer. No idea how I got it. I would just have the answer. And I would go down and I'd write all the answers and I'd get the whole paper right. And they would look at me. The teacher would just dumbfounded. And they'd give me something else. I'd have all the answers right. And they said, okay, work out the problem. I couldn't work out that problem. I had no idea how to do it. But I was getting mind speak from whatever that was giving me the answers. And the teacher's like, I don't see you talking to anybody. You're not looking at anybody's paper. Like, how are you getting this? How are you formulating the answer to this math problem? I'm like, I have no clue. They put me out in the hall by myself. I do the same thing. But they could not pass me in the class because I couldn't do the work. Because I wasn't doing the work. Something was telling me what the answers were. If all I needed was an answer, I was great. And I still get that today on various things that I have absolutely no knowledge of, but I'll get the answer.
Let me ask you, how do they know, they being the cryptids, how do they know when you're arriving in an area? They may not have ever met you. They may not have seen you. Yet here they are sending off energy into your area. How does that work?
Through the collective consciousness. You have to be of a higher frequency. And once your frequency is high enough, it puts you in that paranormal spectrum. And you're using your frequency and your energy, and that puts you into the collective consciousness. Your mind is a third dimensional thing. It's only good in the third dimension. It's great to manifest with, to help do different things, but it only will go so far. You have to be in a higher frequency. And once you get in that higher frequency, you can get into the collective consciousness, and you're all linked. You're absolutely linked. And it's not even really just tracking you. It's an energetic pull. They know it. It's just like I'll drive in certain areas, and even if they didn't know I was coming, they can pick me up in a heartbeat, but I can also pick them up. Like I can drive down the road and I can pick them out just driving by with absolutely no problem. And they'll do the same thing. North Carolina is kind of a tricky area because there's some pockets that are some really, really kind ones of both Dogman and Sasquatch. And so I picked up some cat people there. I picked up a goat man one time, but there's also some really nasty things. And right now, North Carolina's cryptids are not overly happy all the time in certain areas because after that hurricane that we created, it was man-created, in my opinion, it destroyed a lot of things in North Carolina. It wasn't just our people that were displaced. And you go through there, and if you go through some of these pockets, man, you can feel them coming miles away. And they have literally messed with my GPS to get me in different areas. They will mind speak with me, or they'll push harsher energy on me. They'll do various things. They'll shut down my phone. Yeah, it gets kind of creepy in there. I've had good experiences and bad experiences in North Carolina.
Okay, so when we have that mind speak going, we have 4 minutes to go. It still doesn't make sense to me. Like, give you an example. When we first started heading out to Flight 21, okay, these cryptids really didn't know who we are or what we were about. Had I been there before? Sure. Tim hadn't. Really? So why would they all of a sudden start hitting him if they didn't really know him?
Well, first off, the more you think about them, because everything is joined through the collective consciousness, if you're at a higher frequency, you and Tim are. So when you think about them, it's almost like calling them in. That's another way they can find you easily. If you have anything in your mind about them at any given time, it's like a honing pigeon. It just pulls you right to them. So depending on what Tim's thoughts were opposed to yours, they knew they'd seen you before. This was somebody new. They're going to check him out harder than they're going to check you out to see how safe.
Okay. Do you think then it is done out of aggression?
No.
Defense?
No, I think it's curiosity. I think it's defense as far as, you have family groups out there and they're going to make sure that nothing is going to come in that area that's going to hurt those kids. Like, we think we're protective of children. We are nothing compared to what these cryptids are. They take it to a whole new level, which is actually really awesome, but it can be kind of dicey because they really and truly are more protective of them. I mean, they used to bring the babies to my house in Michigan. And I was very blessed that they let me, see them. They would bring them up and they would let me get within like 30 to 40 feet from them and I could see them. But, the other ones, the little babies would come up by the house because I'd have treats and stuff out there and they'd be out there getting those. But they are so highly protective of these kids. We think we are, and we're not even close to how they are. And when you're in a higher frequency, which they're a high frequency interdimensional being, the higher your frequency is, the higher and stronger your emotion. So for them being at such a high frequency, they love deeper, they hate deeper, they get mad easier, they're sadder. When they're sad, everybody knows it. If you're an empath or an intuitive, you're going to feel it no matter where you're at. But the higher the frequency, the higher the emotion. So when it comes to these children and protecting them, it's at a whole nother level.
That is very true. That is very true. I just look at it like the headaches that go along with that mind speak. What causes that headache?
Frequency. The frequency. You have to have a higher frequency to mind speak. It's like when I work with my clients, we have to get them in a higher frequency before they can tap into it. Once they are at a higher frequency and they know what to look for, most of them are finding out that they've already been given it. They just weren't aware that that's what it was. The headaches can come from learning how to communicate through mind speak, and it's new with that higher frequency. It can come if many of them are trying to talk at one time. It can give you a headache. Like, I don't get the headache anymore when I'm talking to them. I will get slightly dizzy if multiple ones are talking at one time. I can get a headache if they're like standing 2 feet from me and trying to mind speak. Because of that close range and that high frequency. If they are verbally talking to me from 2 feet away, it doesn't bother me.
That's interesting. I'm going to get you to hold on right there, Robin, because we are going to go to break at the bottom of the hour here. Robin Haynes is here for the Cryptid Q&A when we return for our final half hour of 2025. We're going to make it all audience questions for Robin, and I know there are a few of them in the lineup right now. So
sounds good.
This is Spaced Out Radio. Your host, Dave Scott.
All right, we are clear. Let me bring you back in. There we go.
Mhm.
Question for Robin, put them in capital letters. If you do not mind.
Sorry, I've got a cough drop in my mouth, you guys. This cold just came out of nowhere like about 30 minutes ago.
Yeah. Excuses, Robin. You should be
telling
healthy all the time.
I'm telling you, I have never had as many colds as I have in the last 6 months. It's insane.
I'm so sick of sneezing.
I know. It's like, what in the world?
Right?
God, if the allergies aren't getting you, then it's going to be a cold. But everybody I know is getting it.
I have a nice smell of cinnamon in my office. Cinnamon mixed with cream soda.
Ooh, that sounds good.
Yeah. Yeah, I forgot my glass the other night in here. It's a Fireball and cream soda mixed together.
So, what was your top pick for the 25?
Mine,
Yeah.
my scariest encounter was the voices in the forest trying to lure us in.
Yeah.
And I have a feeling that it might come out next year to test my new team.
Oh, probably.
Yeah.
Well, we'll make sure you're bubbled before you do anything.
I think it's part of the learning experience.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure. You know, I think we're going to see next year, honestly, so much more activity in the paranormal world than we thought. There's so many things getting ready to blow right now, and the cryptids are coming more forward, as well as a lot of cryptids that we don't even have names for yet are becoming more aware. And I don't think they're more vocal, they're just showing up more.
Yeah.
You know, and the ETs are absolutely on the move and here, and a lot of them are really good and helpful. And so that's a blessing. But I think there's going to be more, definitely within the next 2 years, there's going to be a lot more disclosures, a lot more things that are going to become public that have a lot to do with them. You know, hopefully the government, when these things come out, will give the ETs the credit because it's their stuff. So,
We got about 2 minutes, Robin.
I think it's going to be interesting for sure. Anxious to see what 26 brings.
It's going to be interesting.
I know. I'm keeping my fingers crossed. I've got good vibes on it. I'm praying it in and hoping that it goes as good as I think it will, or that I want it to. But I do think it's going to be some ups and downs. I think it's not going to be smooth sailing. I think we're going to have some really huge blessings that people won't know how to handle. And then we'll have some of the bad stuff and it's going to go up and down.
I agree.
But with the good comes the bad. It's the cosmic balance. We have to have both sides.
Right?
Because how do you appreciate the good if you don't experience the bad?
That's very true. That is very true.
And we were all created with free will. And the only way you have free will is if you have the choice between good and bad.
That's very right. All right, we got about 40 seconds. Thank you to T-Bone ×2 and Area 54 for the great super chats tonight. Greatly appreciate your love and support. And what else? Shop at our spaced out radio store. We do not have ugly swag. No ugly swag, he says. NT Ranger, or Gangster, how are you? And let's see here. Ashley, nice to see you. Here we go, Robin.
Sounds good.
Our final half hour of 2025. Welcome back to Spaced Out Radio. My name is Dave Scott. We greatly appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Robin Haynes and the Cryptid Q&A coming up momentarily. But first, we want to remind all of you that if you've missed portions of this show or others, our archives are always free on YouTube or any major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Here she is, Robin Haynes. We're always glad to have her here. Robin, we're going to get into some audience questions as we finish out this program and this year for this show. And we're going to start off with T-Bone here, who is
right.
Will humans be more accepting of the cryptids in 2026?
I pray every day. I do. I actually think, yes. Do I think everybody's going to be on board? No, I don't. We are in the middle of this huge frequency shift, and as it shifts, it's shifting everybody's frequency, which means we're going from carbon-based to crystalline, and it's rising the frequencies. At a higher frequency, people can accept the cryptids. They can accept the paranormal. They can accept the ETs. When you are somebody that stays in that third dimension, your mind is like a box. Your third dimensional brain cannot accept anything outside of that box. So until people get into that higher frequency, they will not be able to do it. They can see one, the one can walk up and shake their hand. They're not going to believe it until they get out of that third dimension. And all of that comes from frequency. When you raise your frequency, you get clarity, you get understanding, you find a better sense of self, and you have an acceptance of the things that are out there, because the things out there, the potential of it is limitless. So I think we're headed in that direction. This frequency shift is meant for it. I know I'm getting calls like I've never gotten before from people that are like, something's changed with me. Now all of a sudden I want to know this stuff. And it's because that shift is really just triggered them and started moving them in that higher frequency. So I think it's a very good possibility. I'm hopeful. I know the cryptids have been waiting for this for a very long time.
All right, let's go to Jerence. Jerence is asking, are there any repellents, charms, or wards that keep a barrier from Bigfoot?
No. People can tell you a lot of different things, but actually, no. No, I've heard people say, well, we keep a floodlight on because floodlights keep them away. If you know how many of them stood under the floodlight and looked at me, it'd blow your mind. There aren't any spells. There aren't any charms. None of that stuff works. I do know the bad ones. There are a few things that you can do. I've been called to certain places where I do certain things, and it helps keep the bad ones away, but it doesn't stop the good. But as far as, is there something anybody can go out and purchase or do or whatever? No, I think you use common sense as far as, outside your house, but they go where they want to go. They're going to. I would say probably 75 to 80% are good. The other 20% are just like, everybody has those grumpy relatives or people in your family that are not kind. I also think some of the ones that are really bad that people are so terrified of that might have hurt people are actually a Gugly and not a Sasquatch. But I do think that there's some Sasquatch that are bad enough where they can be lethal.
Tell the public the difference between a Gugway and a Sasquatch.
Gugly are just, they're killing machines. That's what they do. They're cannibals. They will eat each other. But they literally live to kill. They kill humans. They kill cryptids of any kind. They kill pets. They kill animals. If there's a way to kill it, they will do it. They look just like a Sasquatch, except instead of the Sasquatch type face, it looks more like a baboon type face with that snout. And people mistake them all the time as a Sasquatch because they have the body of a Sasquatch. These things, in my experience, have literally no soul. Like they're just evil. I don't think even the ones that are not as bad and are kinder of them are dangerous. I've gotten reports of them killing humans. And I constantly am told from the cryptids about them attacking their packs or their clans and trying to kill them. And the only way they can kill them is to rip the heads off of them. But they are absolutely horrifying. And people tend to think that they're a Sasquatch because they have a body of a Sasquatch. But it's their heads. Their heads are a little bit different. They had more of that snout.
Are they the same size? Do they clash in the forest with the Bigfoot?
Oh, yeah. They can be the same size of a Bigfoot. Some can get a little bit bigger. Yeah, they try to kill the Sasquatch all the time. I've got several groups of Sasquatch that I work with, and their biggest fear is the Gugwies. Well, that and the dragons. They don't like dragons. But they have a real big issue with the Gugwee because the Gugwee try to kill them. They're cannibals. They'll eat anything they can get and kill. And they don't care if it's one of the Sasquatch or if it's one of us. They don't care if it's a dog. They don't care if it's a cat. They just kill. They kill for sport. They kill for food. They just kill everything. They are highly dangerous.
All right, let's go to another question here.
Okay.
I do want to get some in here. Joe is asking, do you think there will be any creature that will be officially discovered in 2026?
I think our government does not want us to know so many things, but I think we are now on that cusp where they've got to start owning up to it. As far as the Sasquatch and the other cryptids go, until they finally do some kind of an announcement acknowledging the ETs, I don't think that they're going to. And I think that, and this again is my opinion, they can't control cryptids. Okay, that the government actually has squads that are set up to go into the forest and kill cryptids on site because they can't control them. They're in our parks, they're in our world, and there's a lot of money to be made with our national parks, and they can't protect people from them. And most of the cryptids aren't going to bother you. They just want to be left alone or be in peace with you. There are worse things out in the woods that will cause harm to you, make you disappear, than a cryptid. And the government can't control any of it. There is no set way to protect us because of the paranormal abilities. And I think it's going to be hard pressed to get them to acknowledge the Sasquatch. We do have, I think it's Washington that has, it's illegal to harm one. But, people do whatever they're going to do. So I would like to see it. I pray that they do. But it's a catch-22 because if they do acknowledge it, we've got enough people going out in the woods acting like idiots trying to kill them now because we kill what we don't understand. Mm-hmm. They don't care that they're part of they're really related to us. So I don't necessarily know that it's going to be in their best interest. I know the cryptids want to be acknowledged. I know most of them do. Some of them don't. So it's going to be really a mess when they are. I don't necessarily know it's going to be for the better or the worst.
Let's move on to another question here. Let us go to Blue Cruise. Have you ever had any out-of-place zoological animals show up on your property?
Yeah. Once in a while, we get animals that are not supposed to be here. I know other people that have had animals show up at their property that are actually animals found on the other side of the globe. And what has happened is they've just wandered into portals and they end up in other places. I've had that happen before, but nothing tremendous, nothing like a dinosaur hasn't shown up or anything like that. But I do know several people that have gotten confirmed sightings of things in places that they have absolutely no reason to be there.
All right, let's go to T-Bone again. Do you think Sasquatch believe in some sort of afterlife?
Oh, absolutely they do. They know it's real. They don't just believe it, they know it.
What makes them so sure?
Well, our world is a matrix. We have all these different planes. Like they talk about going to the plane that Jesus resides on and sitting at his throne by his feet. Death is it's a shedding of our physical bodies. It's not losing our soul. It's not losing our consciousness. It's not losing our energy. We are not just a physical body. And they know this. Like you can sit down and have conversations with them about it. And they believe in the whole reincarnation because they know that's going to happen. They will talk to you about what they were in previous lives. They'll tell you what you were in a previous life.
Sounds
yeah.
philosophical.
Yeah, they're very deep. For anybody, and I'm not the only one by any means, but when you sit down and have deep conversations with them, it's truly incredible. The depth of knowledge that they have and what they know. And they're very matter of fact about it. I mean, there's no nervousness about it or hemming and hawing. I mean, they know. And it's not just one here and one there. I don't care where you go. They're all going to give you that same information on that. From the ones I've talked to, and I've talked to them all over the globe, as well as all over the United States.
All right, let's move on to another question here. Let's next go to Erica. Had mine speak with a female dogman. She said they were not harmful to people, but come across mean as a bluff to keep them at arm's length rather. What's your thoughts on this?
I think that's absolutely true. I love the Dogman. I'll be honest with you. I love my Sasquatch. Don't get me wrong. But I don't have problems with Dogman. Have I ever come across aggressive ones? Yes, I have. I've talked to aggressive ones that were being harassed by our type humans. And do I think that there are aggressive ones out there? Yeah, but not any worse than our people. We have good and bad people in our world. I think they do it to exactly what she said, to bluff people into leaving them the heck alone. Now, I have had several that have helped me and not been unkind to me in any way, shape, or form. I have a picture of that one Dogman pup that was sitting up in the tree that night. Clear as a bell. You can see his snout, his eyes, his ears, his shoulders, his arms, everything. And I have never had a problem. Now, I was out on my land and a storm came up and I was trying to get out of the property, and we actually had one of the Dogmen help with they pushed the gate open. It was just incredible. I can't even as much as I've seen, and then have that happen and you're watching this transpire and you're still like, what in the hell is going on? And the first time I went out there, I went on the property to look at it and I had no problems. I went to leave, and before I left, I got hit with the wall of fear, and I thought, oh God, I don't even want to stay here. Like, if this is I knew they were there. There wasn't a problem with that. And I realized what was going on, and I said, okay, it's like this. I don't have to buy this property, but if I don't, other people will. They don't know you exist. They could, sell the property, parcel it out, and then bad men with guns can come. So either I can stay here and you can live here forever, or it can go somewhere else. And they said, no, we're doing this because we want you to stay, not leave. So that's just one way that people don't realize that we can misinterpret, even people that know about them, we can misinterpret what the reasoning for them doing things are. Now, I've been out there multiple times since. I've camped out there. They have been so good and so kind when I've been out there. This is why I get frustrated with everybody with the, oh my God, it's a Dogman. There are some, like the government ones, they were created by the government to kill. But it's not because they're a Dogman. That's what they chose to create. The ones that were born here, the ones that were created by the ETs, they're not these horrible things that people claim they are. But again, you treat them with respect. You respect their boundaries. They are more stoic. They would prefer you stay backed off. If they want to have contact, and I have a couple that do, then they're front and center and they'll let you know that. But they're phenomenal. And I've been treated very well by the Dogman. I have no issue with them. Doesn't mean that there's not some out there that probably would be nasty to me. But I have no problem with them at all.
The Wizard is asking, do you think Bigfoot and the other cryptids are elementals like the Fae?
I don't believe they're elementals, no. I think that's a different classification, in my opinion. I would love to be able to get DNA from any of them so we could, do the genetic testing, obviously, because we do have the Cryptid Genome Project going. But no, I think they are completely different. I think that there's going to be, if there's any relation to them, and I'm not saying there isn't, it would be on the nuclear side, which would be the dad's side. And there might be something there, but unless we had DNA to test it, there's no way of knowing. But they all kind of do run with the same kind of things. I mean, they all have the abilities. They all can, go down on all fours or be bipedal. The Fae pack a lot of power. I mean, they can take any shape they want, but boy, they're strong. They got some power. You don't want to mess with them on a good day. They're not either good or bad. They're neutral, which makes them even more dangerous because they can flip any way they want at any given time. But they've got some major power to them. Now, I've had interaction with the Fae, and they were very kind to me. But you could feel the power that they had, and they are not something I personally would want to mess with. I think I would feel safer with the Sasquatch and Dogman. But the ones that I encountered and spoke with were very kind. Elementals, I think the elementals are awesome, but again, I think if there's any type of a connection with them, I personally believe, in my own opinion, with nothing to base this on, we don't have DNA from all of them, I would say it would come on the father's side. And then I could see where there might be something there, yes.
Let's move to another question. We got a few more. There's only 3 minutes left. Jessica wants to know, how many times do you think a Gugway has been confused with a Sasquatch? Also, do you think the Gugways are the reason for the Headless Canyon?
Oh, I think it's very possible. Absolutely think it's possible. I also think a lot of the problems over at the LBL, not all of them certainly, but where they've had aggressive Sasquatch there, I think there's a very good chance of the Gugway. I think missing people are not, I do believe that, Sasquatch can take them. I believe a Dogman can take them. I believe an ET can take them. I mean, our people take them. Okay, I don't think there's any more of a risk from them as there is from our own people. I personally feel less safe with our people than I do any of the cryptids. But I absolutely do think that. I think Gugway are something that are not talked enough about. We don't know enough about them. But I think they are highly aggressive, highly dangerous, and I think the Sasquatch get blamed for any type of things that the Gugway do. There was a couple that the husband was killed by a Gugway. They were out in their backyard when the Gugway came in, and the wife made it back to the house, and the husband did not. He was killed, and the Gugway were what did it. By the description of what was given, it appears that it was a Gugway. This happened several years ago. And in the beginning, the Sasquatch were the ones that took the rap. And, which is sad, but there's not enough known about the Gugway. I would dearly love to get DNA from them to find out what in the name of the heavens these things are, because I can't find, even when I find an energy signature on them, I can pick up the energy signature, but I can't find a soul in these things. They're not demonic. There's a difference in demonic and evil. But I do think that they do a lot more damage than anybody realizes. And I do think that a lot of the other cryptids get blamed for it. Not that the other cryptids don't do stuff, but so do our people, is my point. But I do think that a lot of the time it is a guggly hit.
Final question of 2025.
Oh, wow.
Go to T-Bone here. Will there be more UFO cryptid connections in 2026?
In my opinion, 1,000,000%. I think more and more people are coming forward now. I don't think there's ever been a time that there wasn't that connection, but I do believe that more and more people are coming forward. And as everybody's frequency is coming up, people are being able to accept it more. And I think they should talk about it. I think there's more people than we know that have encountered these things, and they need to talk to each other. You know, I mean, I get a lot of people myself that get hold of me over these kinds of things. And the first thing they say is, well, nobody's going to believe me. And I'm like, I will believe you. You know, and I think more people need to do that, because when they keep it within themselves, they don't know. They know it's real. They saw it. But they don't have any way to confirm it. They don't have anybody to talk to, so they can find a way to understand what they saw. So I'm hoping with this higher frequency is more acknowledgement and kindness within our own people for these types of incidents. We all are on the same playing field, guys. Nobody's any better than the other one. We're all through the collective. We are all on the same playing field. We just need to be there for each other and listen.
Robin, it's been a pleasure sharing airtime with you through 2025.
Thank you.
Thank you, and we will see you in 2026.
You got it. Everybody have a wonderful New Year's.
As we say goodnight to Robin Haynes and hello to Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Ball. Rocking us with Little Brother is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio. Rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at work, at home, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat rooms tonight. YouTube, Twitch, LGAP, Facebook, Spreaker, LinkedIn, the Space Travelers Club, and on X at hashtag Spaced Out Radio. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and Bigfoot Broadcasting Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends,
We're watching.
we own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo Train has docked for the year, but soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we've got room for them too. Happy New Year, everybody. We own the night. Good job, Robin Haynes. Good job.
Take a minute and thank you for allowing me to be part of this amazing Spaced Out Radio for the last year. I love it.
Been fun, hasn't it?
It is. You guys are amazing.
Thank you, my
Nope.
dear.
All right. Well, I love you, and you have a blessed New Year.
Love you too, my dear.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Robin Haynes, everybody. And on that note, I want all of you to have a very happy New Year. And I want to say a special thank you to each and every one of you. There's some special people in our chat room tonight I want to say thank you to. Starting off with Luscious Jules. She has been absolutely great in behind the scenes and just not only being a friend and an ear when I've needed it, but helping out more than you know, because I'm not going to give up her secret. No, I'm not going to give up her secret. I almost did. I also want to say a big thank you to Tim Mothman and his goatee. Every time we do something with SOR, Tim Mothman and his goatee show up. And if you ever get a chance to come to one of our SOR events, you see Tim Mothman and his goatee. Dude is a class act, man. I love this guy. I do. And Timmy, I can't wait to see you in Las Vegas again, May 21st to 25th. I really appreciate you. And hopefully you can make it out to UFO Con in San Francisco in March as well. Love to hang out with this guy. I will tell you this. Tim Mothman and I have this unofficial routine where no matter what, on at least 2 nights of the SOR fan party, maybe 3, usually 2, everybody is gone, and him and I are wandering around until between 5 and 6 in the morning. I think one time we hit 7 o'clock. So, Tim Mothman, thank you. A huge shout out to T-Bone, my man. Thank you very much for your love and all your support throughout this past year at Spaced Out Radio. Really, really am appreciative of your giant support of what we do, and a big thank you, and your emails and everything. Thank you to Mel WD40 for lubing us up every night on this show. Okay, I really appreciate that. And we're glad to still have him here after the last couple of days. So we're really glad to still have him here. And thank you, Mel. Paramarv, thank you very much for all that you do in getting all the links together and posting all of our guest links. And you're finding links on them that I haven't even found yet. And I don't know how you do it, but a giant thank you to you for doing what you do. And there's so many else I could go through, all of you guys, and pick out a memory or something along that. We've had some good faces. We've had some faces who are new come on in. We've lost some people this year. I believe we lost 2 of our regulars this year. One was, you guys will know better than I do. Who are they? It sounds so rude when I'm saying this right now. Who did we lose this year? Renee Cruz. I thought there was one more. We lost this year. Yeah, and we lost Kevin. Lost Kevin as well. And as a guest, we lost Earl Grey Anderson. And, that's always hard. It's always hard to, unfortunately, have to say goodbye. And, and Susan lost her life partner, Morris. Thank you for that. Yeah, Mr. Yost in 2024. He was hilarious. Absolutely hilarious. I got to meet him too at UFO Con. Oh, did he make me laugh there? But it's been a good year. We had some crazy things happen. I want to say big thank you to the SOR team, just being there for us. That's right, Hillbilly Herb. There are no goodbyes. Just see you laters. Thank you tonight to Amy to T-Bone ×2, to Area 54 for the lovely super chats. I got to get going here. I got to edit. I still got to work in the morning like many of you have to. So you guys have a wonderful, wonderful new year. I will talk to you on the 2nd when our Keith Andrews of the ET Connection come on by. Much love to each and every one of you. Thank you for making 2025 so special. Help us grow in 2026. Share our posts, make comments, give thumbs up. You know, I don't ask for a lot, but I would really appreciate those 3 if you don't mind, because we're going into year number 11 pretty hard here. We've already kicked it off, and we're going to make sure that we go hard for you guys again this year. So make sure you have a safe night. I want to see all of you back here on the 2nd. Love you all. Merry Christmas, belated. Happy New Year to each and every one of you. And we'll talk to you soon.
Stay healthy, my friend.
You too.
If you need bail money, give me a call.
Always, Dad. Take care.
You too.